Hello, and welcome to Plat Chat, episode 72. No, that's Valorant. 118. Welcome to Plat Chat, Overwatch, episode 118. Chaos has infested us. Chaos is, I don't know, this sounds like I'm about to go on like a Metal Gear Solid villain monologue before we go into the show. I've got a splitting headache. I was called in last minute because Matt Morello had to find a replacement for himself. Couldn't do it. So I mean, he did find somebody, but I'm not gonna drag them through the dirt. I'm gonna drag Matt instead because I know he can handle it.
As you should.
But the person he found did not show up. You can all speculate in the comments as to who it was. Actually, that's a good way to get some engagement going. We've got Josh who's doing ASMR at 5 o'clock in the morning in the UK. Connor has been screaming since I got here, and Johnny I think is muted. He's just been silent.
Oh, I was muted.
Oh, there
Were
you
you
go.
talking this whole time? Were you talking?
Wait, really?
I haven't heard you say a word for the past 10 minutes.
What?
It's done
I've been
already.
talking to you guys for like 20 minutes.
Oh my god, I didn't know you've been saying words.
I said hi to Bren. I talked to Kurt about the production of the show.
Oh
No.
my fucking
No.
god.
I did it all.
No,
And
he's
now
been muted the whole
I've been
time.
muted the entire time.
Jesus Christ.
I took part in all of these conversations and discussions, and no one noticed that I was muted the entire time.
I'm surprised you didn't notice that we were just bulldozing over you the whole
That was
time.
great timing.
We
I'm
didn't
used to it, Connor.
acknowledge you.
I'm used to it.
No.
Okay, well.
It's currently a shambles at the Plat Chat studios. Bren's just moved out. I'm in the UK. Jonathan's on holiday. Avast just went traveling. There's no
I
one
think-
home.
I think this is the first episode in Plat Chat history, well, maybe Valorant, no one is in LA. No one is in California. So
Yeah.
Wait, where's Matt?
that's the first. What?
Where's
Matt's
Matt?
not here.
Oh, you mean the people on the show?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
on the show. No one is in LA
Oh,
right now.
right.
So that's the first
Right,
for
right.
Plat Chat Overwatch.
There you go.
God Almighty! What are we doing? Okay, so the plan is to recap.
Bren doesn't even know what the show is. So
Wait. Before all you Bren haters come out, it's like, Bren doesn't know what's going on. He came in, literally,
Yeah,
he just
he
showed up at
doesn't
the
know.
door. He has no idea.
I was told I wasn't going to be on this episode, so I was like, okay, I can focus on unpacking because I just moved. I've been doing all the adult shit that you got to do, like transferring addresses and all the logistics of that. And this is the first time I'm looking at to run a show. We're recapping the future.
No, we're recapping.
It says 2022. 2021, right? Yeah. Okay. We're recapping 2021. We're going through each stage. Now, as a warning, even if I knew ahead of time that I was doing this, I can't remember what I did last week, let alone Melee 2021. My mind is blank. I have erased the Overwatch League from my brain. It no longer exists there. It was some temporary storage, some random access memory that I was using in that year, and I've erased it. I don't know what the fuck for. Probably, I don't know, Valorant related shit. I don't know. Here's the Melee bracket. As we look at this, God, this was. You guys remember this one?
Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, I do. I actually, to be honest, we were submitting stuff, and I was like, I can't fucking remember shit either. Like, so looking at this bracket, it's being pieced together like that movie Memento, where each moment I travel further back a little bit.
I do remember this. I remember this.
It's not like we're 80 discussing the war. Like we're all just like, anyone remember this? Remember this one?
Is Johnny muted again?
No, no.
He's
Oh,
fucked
God.
up. He's been consuming alcohol for the past 2 days straight. He said he went to Florida. He got drunk with his girlfriend and his parents, and then went to a wine tasting. Then went to a wine tasting the next day. The man's ridiculous.
So what happened?
I quite liked the main melee. It was a good one.
It was one of the best stages of all time. I'm browsing Wikipedia right now. I remember everything clear as day.
It was a good one. It was a good one. We rated it as one of our highest one of our highest stages. The storyline was excellent. The finals were really good. It was just a club banger of a stage.
Tell me one match from the qualifying matches of stage 1 that stood out to you.
From the qualifiers, you mean like the regional
The
games
regular
before they went to
season matches?
Hawaii?
Yeah. Tell me one
Okay.
from stage 1.
From stage 1, I mean, stage 1 was Dallas mowing over Houston and Shock in the qualifiers. That's memorable, man. That's memorable.
No, but
they were
yeah, but
teleporting
that was-
Reinhardt's onto
If
people.
you're,
and
I'm gonna be
shitting on them.
completely honest with you. If you were gonna ask me to name a match, you might as well ask me to do linear equations again. You might as well ask me to do some shit I haven't done since
What's
engineering.
happened
okay,
to all
all
of your
right.
brains? How have all of your brains pickled?
All
right.
can't remember this. Shit.
We
I
had-
can remember from the May Melee, June Joust, Summer Showdown, Countdown Cup playoffs. I can remember stuff from that, but like specific regular season matches outside of like Titans winning and like London winning their first matches and stuff, I like simply cannot remember anything.
The thing that I remember about the play-ins to the May Melee was that Dallas had kind of invented this Symmetra rush, that they were like sim teleporting all over the place, and it was getting them massive advantages over the teams that we thought they would lose to.
But they
Or at
did it
least
right
would
for the
be challenged
playoffs,
for.
right? Because
Yeah,
I remember
like,
the regular
right
season
then.
matches, like they were good, but I don't think anyone realized how good they were at the time. Like I think most
I
of us
don't
looked
even
at
think they were
Gladiators,
that good at the time.
Washington, yeah, and it was not until the actual qualifiers and the playoffs that Dallas Fuel like really stepped it up. Like even going in, I mean, even going into like the stage 1 playoffs, I think if you were just slightly off the goop, I think that it was realistic to not predict Dallas to win. Like I don't think they were by far favorites at that time. I think most people put them to win in their prediction bracket or whatever, but I don't think it was mandatory because I don't think people like it wasn't commonly known. I think that they were like the best.
Yeah, but we hadn't also seen the APAC teams play against the North American teams at that point,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
difficult to be able to tell. But this was
Two
an
things that
exciting
did
one.
happen though. We had the Houston Outlaws beating the Shock in like the opening week with the Django Shatter. You remember that, Avast?
I do remember the.
Was that on
I
Hanamura?
do remember the Django
No,
shatter.
Havana.
It was on Havana. It was on Havana. He went for the flank and he hit a fat shatter. I do remember that. I also
Someone
remember.
hit a shatter on Hanamura.
I also remember
many
this was the last. Oh my god!
Who was it, dude? I thought as you guys were talking, I was listening. I was like, my memory's coming back to me. I can remember again. And I was convinced. Who the fuck hit the shatter on Hanamura
I think
on point B?
I'm sure someone
Stage
hit a
1.
shatter.
Was it stage
shit.
1?
It was that really meaty shatter as they come around the corner.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
They jumped around
Was
the
it
corner.
Dreamer? Was it Dreamer or something? No.
Was it
That doesn't
Gazer?
make sense. He wasn't even
Dreamer
playing
wasn't
then.
even playing. Yeah, I don't
No.
think it was Dreamer. He was not
He
on
might have added
Outlaws
afterwards.
at that
Wait.
point. This is the
Oh,
Jongu shatter.
this was clutch as fuck.
This was the Jongu shatter on Havana. I remember for this stage that the Justice Bucks were through the roof at this time because they'd beaten all these turbo shit teams.
No, they beat Dallas too.
Yeah, they did beat Dallas, but Dallas, like we said, wasn't looking that good. See, when I go back and I'm looking at it, I'm now my brain, the connective tissue is starting to
Hold on.
come together a bit, and all the things.
I'm going on the Overwatch League
Reforming.
YouTube channel, and I'm going to go back and find their top 5 plays of the week videos, which is actually not that hard because they don't post any videos. So
Yeah,
I've managed. I'm getting to it pretty quickly.
but I remember Justice being pretty good. Well, we thought they were good. We thought they were good, but they beat like no one. And then when they actually got into the Melee, they looked so rough at times. I mean, luckily they did beat Mayhem, but Mayhem also didn't look that good.
Yeah,
So-
Mayhem also were running their the classic Rhine.
Oh no, they
Sigma
didn't beat. They didn't
Rush
beat Mayhem. I forgot. They
compositions.
lost to Mayhem. Actually,
They
that's
lost
what it
to
was.
Mayhem.
They lost to Mayhem, and this was also the Mayhem's last stage of hope.
It was
stage
The
one
main
main melee. That was the
didn't
main
they play a lot of
stadium.
Orisa? Like a lot of Orisa and Yaki was amazing on Hanzo or something?
Yeah, they looked good. I mean, Yaki looked good as always, and BQB, like their DPS line looked good. Their tank line looked not good. Their support line looked pretty meh. So it was overall, I think because it was so early in the season, we were trying to form these narratives early. And like at first we're like, okay, Fuel didn't look that good, but they looked great. Justice, people were like mega hard coping on the Justice Bucks, and they beat a bunch of teams coming out the gates, and then they cratered really hard when they started to play against like tougher competition.
They also had the Yaki Sideshow 1v1, and Yaki won 15-1.
Yeah.
Well,
because he didn't
$1,000.
Yeah, because he didn't
Sideshow.
int this time.
Yeah, that I've wiped that from my memory. That no longer exists in my memory.
It also had the fucking Fusion, despite their disaster roster, had a pretty good stage.
Yeah.
In main melee.
Yeah, May Melee was the one where they had a banger of a match against the Shanghai Dragons to qualify, but they actually got they couldn't make it through.
They couldn't finish it out.
They also had some horrendous compositions on like Volskaya and stuff that were just atrocious.
They should have won that. They should have won.
Bren says he's found it.
They kind of threw. Yeah,
I wasn't making this up. I genuinely knew I wasn't making this up.
Now, how are you going to show this?
Of course, there was a shatter on Hanamura. No
But
one
it
said
was
it was
like one of the most fucking gassed up ones. It's the final play in this video.
Which video?
Is it Django?
Yeah.
Mm.
On Hanamura.
Yep. I'm telling you, the synapses are connecting.
I think I remember it. I think he just walks around the corner and fucking. Oh, it's that one. That's
Oh, versus London. I don't remember any of London's matches.
I mean, honestly, the thing
it's
is,
against
like,
London.
London early on were having very close games.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Do you remember the hybrid phase? Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go look at London's early matches and
They were having very close matches early on.
Were they?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
This sounds wrong.
People
I
didn't
gave up
realize
on
at the time how
London.
bad they were.
I gave up on London so early.
So so their first two matches were 3-0s, and then their next match, their next match was a map 5 versus Boston, which they lost, and then they got 3-1 by Defiant, and then so they had one close match, I think. They had one relatively close match, and it was
who were the first
Boston.
Who were the first two matches again?
The first two were Houston and Glads.
I mean,
And they got turbo dumpstered.
No. Well, look at each individual map because that matters for context.
In match 1, London
Sorry,
got first
how are we
held.
doing? How are we doing a fucking May Melee recap and we're focusing in on minute detail on the London Spitfire?
Well, because I'm trying to remember. Hey, Bren might be right.
wins.
Bren might be right because I honestly they could have had close matches. But I'm looking at the map details.
Oh,
So
bro,
they
who
got
gives a shit.
they got destroyed. No, I am looking at this right now. They got their ever-loving shit pushed in versus Houston, and I'm looking versus Glads. They got their ever-living shit pushed in versus Glads too. They capped a single point in like all the other non-cost game modes. Like it was pretty bad.
Okay.
Well,
Another thing that happened, the last thing I mentioned was Gladiators lost their first two matches, and the community reacted like they should fire everyone. Like, don't you remember the first week where they lost two matches and people were just like, Space is the worst off tank in the league. So like, get Space off this team. So that was a fun little storyline for like 2 weeks, and then it was great again.
Oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I remember that. I remember because I was like, oh shit, like this roster shouldn't be bad. And then, but they picked it up after that.
Yeah,
Spilo did like 10 hours of VOD analysis. This is why Gladiators suck. And then they were good.
Thank God London got Spilo.
I think.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Great anecdote. He was like breaking it down on his Twitch stream. I tuned in. It was like decent
was
analysis. You know,
I think the defining factor for the May Melee that we haven't even mentioned yet was that it started this clash between Dallas and Shanghai. It set the Dallas-Shanghai rivalry. This defined it. It set the narrative early. And like we were discussing earlier, Shanghai almost didn't even make it into the May Melee. Can you imagine what a different season it would be if Philadelphia made it to the May Melee, and I don't know what I mean. They probably wouldn't have won. They maybe would have had like a close game against Dallas. We wouldn't have even thought particularly about Dallas and Shanghai being rivals when the next time they matched up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have even really been a storyline at all.
Was this the one where Sparkle swapped to Soldier, and it was like, holy shit, he's winning Soldier?
In the grand final or the upper final?
No, the grand final, yeah. Like everyone just lost their marbles because Sparkle just started playing Soldier.
Oh, I'd have to go look at the fucking VOD, but I do remember that. I mean, I'd have to go look at the fucking VOD.
Oh, what a nightmare! I think he was playing a smattering of Soldier, but from what I remember, the Soldier thing was about.
I thought it was mostly
wasn't that-
Sim. I thought he mostly played Sim the whole time.
Yeah,
But
I think the Soldier was an adaptation in their later tournaments, but I can't remember. I think it was the June Joust, but I'm not 100% on that.
yeah, I thought they busted it out to deal with like some of the dive, like ball, like sort of style comps and the echo and such. And
Yeah, it was
they
the
wanted
Echo.
someone to deal that could survive the aggression and get flanks around and do damage. I thought that's what it was later. I thought they were mostly playing this rush style for stage 1, which is why they rolled people so hard because their coordination on the rush was insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then also, I don't know, because they also lost the June Joust, and I remember the narrative being that the Soldier worked. So
It was in
think that
this
might-
series, I think. I think it was in this series on King's Row.
Well, he
But-
played it on Dorado as well. I specifically remember him pulling out the Soldier on Dorado.
All right.
Connor,
which
you
wasn't
remind me.
even played in finals.
You remind me
What's
of
up?
the guy in Blade Runner 2049
Which guy? The
When
guy,
he's
the main character,
in
the
the
protagonist?
archives. No, the guy who's like searching through the archives of the Lost World when there was a big solar flare and a lot of the information was lost. The information being our brains, and you're the one who's going through the vaults.
Dude, I mean, yeah. I mean, legitimately, like, if you can remember, like, Grant, I can remember like these. When I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh yes, it's all. I'm finally the lost fragments. Like I'm putting them together a bit.
I
but-
sent you a picture, Kurt.
This is the problem with the off season being so long. You just forget. The synapses stop connecting.
It's
They wither
crazy, yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Well, also you have to remember this was a 6-month-long season, and now we've had. That is actually me.
you searching for the
That's
vaults.
actually fucking me. Because it's think about it. We had a 6-month-long season, and now we've had what 4 months of off season so far.
No,
Yeah.
just 3, I think.
I
Don't
mean,
we have 4 more?
When did
3
the
and a half to
season
go?
end?
Gods, when did the season end?
okay, let's see. The season ended. The grand finals of the Overwatch League.
It was in September, no?
It happened September 25th, and it is now it is December 28th.
3 months.
So 3 months.
It
Yeah.
feels
So,
like
but-
it feels
But
like
when
4
was the
months.
regular season? Because when the grand finals were like a month
A
after,
year?
wasn't it?
The regular season ended
August 22nd.
August
So,
22nd.
yeah, a month afterwards. So
God.
it's been 4 months since the end of
4
the
months since
regular
regular
season.
We're so out of content that we're just recycling the year over and over again. There we are.
Well, it does. You know, at the end of the year, normally you do a bit of a recap, like, oh, what were your favorite moments, stuff like that, and
Yeah,
relive
sure.
some of the nostalgia. The problem is we've fucking forgotten it all.
Yeah, we probably should have done the recap of the year earlier. Probably should have
In September.
recapped.
It's gonna recap the year in September.
We
I've asked.
probably should have.
What
Well,
did we
because
think of
that
that?
was because we did because it was like if you think about it, the year essentially ended in September because
Yeah.
nothing fucking else is happening after September's over. So we might as well have recapped the season then. If we're gonna recap the season. So look, jot that down. Jot that down for the future.
All right. Do we want to talk
Write
about
it
next
down.
stage or?
Yeah, move on, mate.
Uh,
This one's lost.
what's the next one?
The fucking June Joust.
Next stage.
Oh yes. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's on the other screen. I'm an idiot. June Joust 2021. This was a special tournament.
It was.
Why, Brennan? Why was it special for you?
I think it was a cool
Uh,
stage
this
because
was-
June Joust 2020 was really good.
This was the
June Joust.
beginning of the downfall of the Florida Mayhem.
That was
I
that
mean,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, I
True,
mean,
but what a
true.
weird thing to talk about in the
That's what, that's what I remember.
is on the
I remember
screen.
Florida Mayhem showed signs of life in the May Melee, and then after that just went. It went down.
I think something that was particularly funny was, I think for this stage was, I believe, was it like New York beat Spark, or like that New York somehow made it into it over
yeah, they
like
did.
Dynasty, or not Dynasty. Yeah, they made it over Dynasty, Spark, and Fusion.
It was
Because of some shit
tragic.
that happened.
Oh,
And it was, they were not good.
dominated the stage. Yeah.
Spark,
oh my god, Shy was
Spark-
amazing in this stage.
Shy
They beat
popped.
Shanghai.
Shy went crazy all stage long, and then they played against New York to get in the semi-finals, and they just beds full of poo everywhere. Ludicrous. They were playing awful compositions. I remember doing a VOD review and just my eyes were bleeding. They were playing shit that hadn't been seen in years. They were miles behind the meta, and they were just losing over and over and over again to New York, who weren't good at all. And I remember just molding, being like, Spark, please be better than this. Shy has been carrying you all year, and now you put him on Sombra. And I mean, he's not playing it here, but I'm pretty sure he spent the majority of this playing some like supportive role rather than playing Ashe. He'd been playing like Ashe and Echo and stuff all of the stage, and mostly the Ashe, and he just stopped playing it, and they started playing dribble comps with the fucking Winston Diva dive stuff that they weren't good at
you
at
might
all.
be misremembering, because this entire stage they played the Winston, Zarya, Reaper, Echo. Like they just one-tricked that entire time, no?
I thought this was the stage
The
where they
Reaper Echo?
popped the fuck off with the with Shy playing Ashe.
I
No,
can't
I
believe
think it
I
was
don't.
Echo this stage, and then Ashe was Summer
Oh,
Showdown,
was that
maybe.
the next one?
He played
Dude,
some Ashe in this series.
I might be
too. I'm
lost in the
recapping the
source
New
as
York
well.
series, but they were like so great with the Reaper Echo thingy, and then they lost to New York on a homestand. I don't know which homestand, but it was a homestand. It is true. We're awful.
What I liked about this VOD was the opening of ZP and Doa stood on the enlarged virtual green screen set.
Uh-huh.
It was on the. There they are. They are so small. They are tiny compared to the virtual set. They are literally the definition of the man standing emoji. But just look at the size of this desk. Look at the size of it.
I also really appreciate that ZP's lighting is so different. He's actually more in common with the Tracer than Doa.
Oh, fuck.
No, that's wow.
He looks like part of the silhouette.
I am lost. I looked at that as well. I mean, I know this joke is dead now at this point, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Soman Su, forgot that Soman Su played DPS the beginning of 2021.
He did.
Yeah. What do you think is the most niche player from the season? Like, which player do you think you could surprise the most fans by saying they played a map in this season?
Fuck you. I wish you would fucking asked that question before the episode.
Well,
Now
yeah,
I have
nominee
to
for
think.
you.
It's the most difficult question to answer because by definition they should be forgettable. Like, you shouldn't think of them, you know?
All right, can I give a suggestion then and see if you
go
think this
on
is fair or not? Okay. Takoyaki.
Wait, did Takoyaki
And
actually
stage
even
one.
see playtime?
Yeah, stage 1, Hangzhou. They alternated their lineups every map, and they played everyone. Stage 1, yeah.
Also, I thought you were going to say Taro Cookie because the only reason I remember him is because of his name and because Matt used to say Tookie Cookie or something whenever he wanted to talk about him.
Cookie.
I mean, imagine. I mean, he didn't even register on Matt's radar, and Matt works for them. Matt works for the league. He didn't even bother learning his name because he knew he was gone.
I mean, wasn't IO still on the shock this whole year?
Yeah, I don't think Tayo played though.
Yeah, well, still. I mean, I don't know. I thought he played like one map.
did.
I thought he played a map and then it boomed them out of existence or something. Like he played like a map and then he just like was banished forever.
Hmm.
He played 3 times at least, according to Over.gg.
Ji-hoon. I had completely forgotten about Ji-hoon.
Oh, Ji-hoon. God damn. There's
I
players
remember
that.
Jihan being played. Yeah. It's an interesting question though. High B.
IB. IB.
I mean,
Sure.
High B's not forgettable in that, you know, like he had a small amount of playtime or something. It's just somebody that I never paid attention to because the Valiant was so bad. Just God bless his little heart.
What about Bernard?
Bernard, but I remember
I
Bernard
don't
though
know.
because of his. I essentially remember Bernard because of he's like the inverse of most Overwatch players. Well, I guess not most, but many, where his performance in contenders kept him alive in my mind.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it's almost a bit of a cruel segment because it's like it's not really the worst, but it's who's the most forgettable. which-
Yeah, who had a bad season? You know, like
It's-
just got unlucky or just like was on a really bad roster situation, or there's a lot of things that were.
Yeah.
I feel like
Don't
Tuba would
listen
be
to
a
that
good
segment if you're a
candidate, but it's
player.
like Washington forced us to remember Tuba.
Exactly, that's the problem. It can't be a player that was too bad, otherwise you remember them. They stick with you. So it's got to be someone who was like middling but slipped by. Someone,
Super.
No, not
Yeah,
super.
Honestly,
Yeah, super.
a hybrid was pretty forgettable for me before they
Yes.
started playing Sparker.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about the June Joust? You know what I loved about the June Joust?
What did you love?
That it was the on top of the New York ruining multiple teams, like because of the situation that how it worked out in APAC, was also the fact that Boston Uprising made it to June Joust because they dunked on Defiant and like one other, or they didn't make it. They made it to like the West qualifiers. You know, like they were playing the play-ins of June Joust.
Yeah.
And then they got absolutely, I think they got destroyed by Atlanta. Yeah, they did. It wasn't total destruction, but it was pretty. It was relatively close. It was closer than some of the Spitfire matches. But
I can't believe I was bought into the Uprising.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I really believed in their backline with Faith and Myeonbong.
I think by June Joust, all the narratives we had preseason essentially been destroyed, right? Like I didn't believe in Boston, but I did believe in Mayhem. June Joust shattered
And
that
Toronto.
illusion because
Oh,
because May Melee there was still hope for Mayhem, and by June Joust that illusion was completely shattered. People were high on Justice, and by the end of May Melee and June Joust as well, that was shattered. Like a lot of our preseason narratives of what we thought about our preseason rankings had been completely destroyed by the time June Joust to come out. Like there wasn't any ambiguity left. Like after watching Justice play and watching like Mayhem play and June Joust was like, holy fuck.
I remember walking away from 2021 with just a deep hatred for the Washington Justice. And I don't know where it came from, but just something about them, something about how they had so many fixable issues in terms of just how slow they played, just annoyed me that it just felt like it never got fixed. And yeah, I don't know.
I understand what you mean. There's potential there, and they never met it. So it's very frustrating
there's
as a
nothing
viewer.
worse than that.
Yeah, well, no, there is something worse than that, actually, because I hated the Washington Justice the year before that. Well, actually, no, even before that. I mean, like 2019 is the year that I really hated the Justice.
Yeah.
Because we were on the desk, so we had to do every single game, and it wasn't split into regions, so we had to do every single game, and every time the Washington Justice would come up, and you knew you were about to waste an hour of your life watching them, and they weren't going to do anything, and they were going to slowly die, and it wasn't going to be fun, and it was just, I felt in that moment like I should just go and work stocking shelves of boots, because it would be pretty similar.
I do think, you know, if we were going to give an award for the team overall, a franchise that I felt like thieved the most from like time and hope away from fans and viewers and such, I think Justice wins.
Ooh, I've got a challenger for you.
Who's your challenger?
Florida Mayhem.
Because
season 1 Florida, absolute dumpster fire.
But season 1 Florida still had one enjoyable moment, the walkout.
Come on, it takes 3 seconds and they gave up on that halfway. Like the middle half of the season, they got serious and just started losing everything.
But also they had like other funny memes, like the bus driver meme and stuff. Like Justice, what funny, I want you to tell me an endearing meme that came out of the Washington Justice.
The Washington
the bobbleheads. at their
Yeah, the
homestands.
bobbleheads at the homestand.
Those were funny.
In early 2020.
Mercy and Farah doing aerial stuff.
Yeah, the
Oh,
aerial
okay,
stuff.
sure. I thought you were. I'm surprised no one mentioned one of my favorite. Actually, we're gonna go over this segment, but I didn't nominate this, so I'm gonna put it out there for like my
So
favorite
you're ruining
meme
the
of the
one that
year.
occurred.
No, I'm not ruining it. This is a second. This is something I did not put up there, but it was a close second. Was the Justice fans when Decay was benched, and the Justice fans were at the HQ as Decay was benched, and they kept losing every game, and Decay wasn't playing, and then they had the Justice fans were taking pictures of the player dugout area, like looking in, like where's Decay, trying to see him in the dugout, the player like lounge area, and the blinds were closed, so they were just like trying to figure, like where's Decay? Where is he? Why isn't he playing?
That's the
And
closest we'll get
then
to
he came out, and then he came out, and like the wow.
I mean, look at those things. They're
I forgot
so
about that.
good.
Yeah.
Look at Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, end
Can
of
we
June
get one of
Joust.
those
End
for
of
the
June
studio?
Joust. Isn't this also when we had the last homestands? Really, right? Was end of June
Yep.
Joust?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, this
maybe
wasn't a
it
June Joust, I don't think.
Was that not June Joust? Was that the homestands in 2020?
Wait, what are you
Sorry.
this is 2020,
What are you
Connor.
talking about? We were indoors all year last year.
What
You're
world are you
bringing us-
living in?
No, I thought we had
No,
a couple
no.
events. Didn't we have a couple events? We had a couple
Yeah,
events.
yeah. The first month was like
The
New
first-
York,
In 2021?
2020.
What the fuck are you talking about 2020 for?
No.
it
Oh,
was on
I'm
the screen.
misremembering. There was this couple of some of the Chinese teams had events in 2021. I'm misremembering. Yeah. I'm misremembering.
What are you talking about?
I forgot in 2021. I remember some of the Chinese teams had events, but not North American. My
Oh,
bad.
Right.
My bad.
Right.
Okay, there were
You're-
events
you're
still. I was
fully
still
off the
technically
goop.
correct. But
Fully off the goop.
None
Okay,
of us,
I'm gonna
none
nominate
of us were
something
involved in the
serious.
Overwatch scene, are we?
Something serious. The Atlanta Reign. This was the beginning of the Atlanta Reign.
oh yeah,
They were pretty shite in the May melee. They were pretty similar to how we expected them to, like, not expected them, but pretty similar to how they'd performed the season before. And then the June Joust began their actual period of being good. They showed that they understood the comps really well. They played the rush kind of style really effectively. They had Hunter just came on.
Was that in the June Joust? Hunter came
was
in?
he in June?
Yes, I believe so. Hunter came in for the June Joust.
I
as
can
far
check
as
their
can-
transactions. Let's see. But yeah, you're probably right.
Go
You're
Through
probably
the
right.
archives.
Anyway, they were pretty fun because it was like they didn't really have that like Washington vibe of not fulfilling their potential because they weren't painful to watch, but it always felt like they had more to give. And then this was the beginning of them actually reaching that potential.
Mm-hmm. We casted the finals, I think. Didn't we?
Of the June Joust.
Yeah.
It was a fucking banger final. I mean, it was
I can't really
incredibly
recall.
good. It was even better than the May Melee. The May Melee was like a 3-2 first game, and then the finals was I think 4-2, something like that.
Yeah.
This one was like 4-3 the entire time. Like anybody could take it. It was pretty nuts.
It was a giga banger. The trouble is,
was.
I think, you know what hurts like building core memories as a human is if you are in the same setup every day and there's not much to differentiate those defining moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I can recall casting at the homestands. I can recall doing the grand finals desks and whatnot because they're in different locations. But even though this game was an absolute giga slapper, I was in a haze. I had the deep brain fog that took me.
Well, fucking hell. Well, one of the defining factors for the actual game itself is that this was fate figuring out how to use the wrecking ball to stop.
Oh yeah.
the rush comps.
yes!
And everyone
So this was-
hated it. They were
Yeah.
like, please stop playing it. And then it figured out.
People really did despise this comp.
People didn't like it the first time they rolled out with it, but then they adjusted it, and he was ruining Fearless. Like Fearless couldn't do a thing
He
towards
swapped
the
the
end.
hog. He swapped the hog and I commanded.
Yeah.
Fearless. Just
This
gave
is
up.
this is actually one of my now see when you remind me of it, I'm like, oh fuck, it's all there. I remember it. It's like you just put it on a memory card to me. But like I remember this was such a cool moment too because it was such a unique way of playing it because
Yeah.
they just saved the slam for every engage. They just saved Fate slam every time Fuel wanted to rush, and he just ruined them. Literally put them in the chastity belt.
He
Denied all
immobilized Or.
fucking.
Yeah, he did. And it was weird to see Fearless because Fearless was the clear MVP of the season up until I'm pretty sure it was like this match, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He was still the MVP. And to see the MVP just get neutralized like that and it's not like because the rest of his team got shut down, it was because he and his initiations were getting shut down by an opponent main tank. It was like an actual MTD. And then he became uncomfortable and didn't know what to swap to and tried Hog, and I think he tried some ball at some point, kind of desperately too. It was extremely cool.
And that became the narrative of Fearless can't play ball. Where it
Yes.
was basically the process of him trying to learn how to play it towards the end of the season.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's about all I remember. I think we were still, the narrative of Chengdu was still like in June Joust, people were still like, oh, Chengdu's good, but I don't think it started. Yeah, it hadn't started really at this
There
point. It
was
didn't
some
have a great.
murmuring. Like if you listened a lot to Avril, like he started talking about
No, in May Melee, the Chengdu Bucks were reaching a further pitch because they actually made it into the tournament, I believe.
Yeah, but they didn't do too good in the tournament.
No, they didn't. They didn't look.
No,
Chengdu
didn't
didn't
look
look
right.
really good until towards the latter half
Well,
of the season, like Summer Showdown ish.
But the hype began right after the June Joust because people, as soon as they saw the Wrecking Ball comp win, people were saying, "Oh, this wait, is that between this one?" Yeah, it was. People were saying, "Oh, this would be a really theoretically excellent composition for the Chengdu Hunters," and then watching that team do extremely well during the Countdown Cup, people were. The North American teams were losing their minds. Like, holy shit, everyone needs to learn Ball and Zen and Anna.
And also, I think in the regular season matches as well, like Lead was an absolute monster. And I think some people started catching up on that narrative around June Joust. And so going into the Summer Showdown, more and more MVP discussions were taking place as it drew closer. And I think a lot of people just started mentioning Leave's name on Twitter, Reddit, broadcast, etc. So I think that helped as well.
Yeah.
With the Chengdu hype.
I don't. Other than that, apparently Hunter joined in April, by the way, which was before May Melee. So by
Is it actually?
months.
Yeah.
I think it started out rough. I think it started out like the first week or so, and then Sideshow like got mad on Twitter and was like, or maybe it wasn't Sideshow, maybe it was someone else, and they were just like, they need an actual coach. No, maybe it was Costa. Maybe it was Costa was like, this team needs an actual coach, and then they got Hunter like 2 days later.
Oh, the cool. I'm looking through the recap video that was made a while ago, and if you look at the bracket, it was Dallas ended up taking it over Shanghai early, right?
Yeah, it was a comeback from Shanghai.
Yeah, it was like the lower bracket run through from Shanghai Dragons.
Yes. Yeah. That's
For
what
them
I'm saying.
to win it.
The Fate only really took down Fearless in the finals. The first time they tried this comp, it didn't work.
Yeah. It's very cool. Just look at this little piece that was put together. You guys remember this moment?
Yeah.
This joke.
I want to take.
I gotta stop saying this because at this point the audience is just fucking, just snoozing.
Well, we should talk June Joust maybe.
June
What?
Joust.
No, I mean
Right?
Summer Showdown.
Or
We
Summer
just talked
Showdown.
about the June Joust. The
No,
Summer
Summer
Showdown's
Showdown.
next.
Summer
2020,
Summer Showdown.
2021, the Summer Showdown.
Summer Showdown.
Showdown.
No,
Is
because I had a
your-
point. I had a point. Yes.
Okay.
And this is when I overdosed on Paris copium. Summer Showdown.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah, because they
remember
beat
this.
Dallas during the regular season, didn't they? It
And I was
their
like,
opening
they were
game or
looking. Well, they
something.
had a couple good wins, and but then this is also looking back at it now. Summer Showdown was a very weird one because Justice made it to the semis of like the play-ins, and Boston made it yet again. So looking back, Summer Showdown was kind of a weird one when you include the addition of Paris. But that's my biggest thing is I remember it was like I was hard overdosing on Paris. Copium.
Oh yeah, and I was overdosing on Washington as well. Oh my god, because that series against Dallas was so close. I remember Washington just like outplayed Dallas when it came to the Zenyatta compositions. Like they were playing very slow Zenyatta compositions and just sat back, and they would just use Discord Orb to just shut down the Dallas Fuel. And so I just used that as fuel. I was just like, okay, well, they lost so closely to Dallas. They should have won Summer Showdown, and the rest is history. Massive letdown from Washington. Thank you. But,
yeah, I didn't believe in Paris.
Yeah, this was a lot of Zenyatta stuff here. Yeah.
Yes, this is also the tournament where the APAC stonks just got artificially inflated up to 3,000. Not artificially, I suppose, because they did win, but it was retro. But what I mean by that is it got retroactively applied to the entire year. Suddenly, because the APAC fans finally had a reason to be like, holy shit, this region is better than North America. It was like, this region has always been better than North America. you never talk about it. They're always really good. And it's like, no, bro. They sucked during May Melee and June Joust. Yeah. It's just that right now they're incredible. But this was where a lot of those teams were starting to push towards ball comps, Zen comps, that kind of thing. And they left North American teams behind. They just couldn't figure out how to use the rush kind of style to beat it at all.
That's when Fuel looked their worst. That's when Fuel definitely looked their worst, I think, was in Summer Showdown. And that's what but see, Atlanta still looked fine too, as they were still using this rush comp. It's just they hadn't figured out to the extent yet, I think, of how to deal with this comp, because it was the first time, like, it had been played earlier, but I think the APAC teams had slowly been just refining it and perfecting it, and they finally just hit it right here in Summer Showdown. And even though they had some very strong rush teams, they just didn't have the answers for it at this time about how to play around it.
Get it, Florida. Go on, get it.
Get it, Florida.
Checkmate on main tank.
Oh, Jesus.
Checkmate
on the Showdown.
Checkmate on main tank.
I forgot when that was.
Oh, yeah, I was right around there. OG just had to leave, right? He just like, I need a break or something. And so they just subbed in Checkmate.
I don't know. That the public messaging? I don't remember. So maybe.
I don't know.
Something like that. Who the
fuck? I think he tweeted out or something like, I need a break.
Okay.
Like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Good luck. Or something. I don't know.
He did say that it was his decision, but I mean, that's just atrocious, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous. That's an overall the checkmate. But the thing is, he did show up and he did some initially, like, they were working around it, like, kind of. He didn't look awful. His Rhine looked bad, but his Orisa didn't look awful. No. Seriously, his Rhine looked bad. Like he was just charging in, but his Orisa, the way they were just having a really aggressive Orisa play. It's like, if you no different, like, it really didn't look like the worst Orisa play ever. It just looked like an Orisa play that was playing hyper aggressive, you know. But the Rhine play was bad. The Rhine play was fucking atrocious. So 100%.
Oh, I love that highlight, by the way.
Yeah, that was pretty
shatter, the Dallas Fuel shatter. The Teletubbies.
What is this?
No. This is just one of them. This is like, because each member of the desk, or like the hosts, get flown out like individual, like at one point in time to Hawaii, because it's like we had Zoe, then Danny.
No, yeah, so and Danny.
The casters were supposed to go to Hawaii at the end, and I didn't have a passport, so all
the casters were supposed to go to Hawaii for the playoffs and the grand finals, and well, Joshua didn't have a passport, so none of us could go.
I owe Matt and Uber a holiday.
It's funny.
Summer Showdown was fun though. Summer Showdown is when I think Glads really also came into their own a bit. Like, it's not like they were playing poorly. Like, outside of stage one, they weren't playing poor the rest of the season. It's just, I feel like this is when their tempo actually like started to increase a lot, even though they didn't actually make it to the event itself. I think this is when Gladiators, to me, started to get their pieces started to click a lot more, which kind of like signaled the beginning of them looking good end of year.
They looked good in the June Joust as well. They just ran into tough competition because they couldn't get through Dallas, and then they couldn't get through Atlanta. And that Gladiators Atlanta game for the Summer Showdown was pretty sick. Yeah. And Gladiators were one of the only teams in North America at the time playing ball compositions.
That's why I feel like they themselves, even if they didn't make it, like, yeah, they played decently in the stage before, but they were also, I think, ahead of the meta curve in an A a bit. It's just they didn't have it refined enough to beat Atlanta on their rush.
Yeah. I think wasn't this around the time as well where people just straight up panicked about San Francisco? They were just like,
Well, they didn't make it into the play-ins even. So
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was close almost every time, though. No.
yeah, I mean they finished the
kind of, I guess,
season,
but, like,
the
there wasn't
regular
great.
season 12-4.
May Melee,
So-
they didn't make it because they got knocked out by Dallas, who went on to win it.
Yes.
Yeah.
June Joust, was it Houston?
It was rain. It was Atlanta.
Rain?
Yeah.
I mean, Rain went pretty far. I would argue that in the June Joust, it was Rain that choked when they got there because that was the tournament that they used a bunch of different excuses. Like the travel and whatnot, and they couldn't practice, and there was too many media days. It's like, okay, we'll just get on with the job. Just do it. Perform. And then Summer Showdown.
You sound like a fucking like a old man sports boss that has no idea what goes on in the team at all, and you've just written the checkbook for the Atlanta Reign, and they don't get you tournaments, and so you just go up to them and you're like, just fucking win, just win,
get out there and win.
just get out there and
Why
win.
do you need
Hit
practice?
the ball,
Hit the ball.
put it in the net. You'll
Hit the
be
ball.
fine.
Get stuck in there. Gotta get my money's worth here.
That's what you sound like.
Yeah, and then the Summer Showdown. Who did the Shock lose to? It was like a 5-mapper, wasn't it?
I can't remember. Let me
In the
have a look.
qualifier.
Summer Showdown.
Archives.
Well, they weren't even in the
make the
Open the
play-ins. They weren't
archives.
even in. They weren't even in the play-ins.
What,
the
yeah,
thing.
they
Shock
weren't in the
didn't make it.
play-ins?
No, they weren't even in the play-ins.
I
So
think you
in-
might be thinking about the Countdown Cup because that was a 5-map
Yeah.
banger where they lost to LA Gladiators.
Probably Countdown Cup.
That match
yeah.
was sick for the
that was one of the best
Countdown
of the
Cup.
season.
I believe so. They lost
Yeah.
the Glads in a map 5, and they lost to Dallas in a map 5. Or no, not Dallas. They lost the Glads and they lost to Houston. Was what happened. And
Back
they
to my
also went to
teeth.
map 5. They nearly beefed against Spitfire. That's what was that was so bad.
Yes,
They nearly
yes.
beefed against Spitfire in a map 5, and it was awful. It was now Spitfire didn't even look. They didn't look terrible, but they didn't look good still. It was like a
Yeah.
really bad map, a very, very bad series.
Yeah, it was horrendous. This was also the kind of time, I mean, they'd been doing it a bit earlier than this too. Violet has just been playing all sorts of heroes all season long by this
Oh
point.
yeah,
He's been playing the fucking Cassidy. He's been
sorry,
playing
sorry.
Lucio. He's been playing Mercy. He's just been randomizing his heroes.
I don't think he was. I don't think in that series he was. They played FD God, and then they played FD God a lot though. But it was before they benched FD like kind of permanently, and were just playing Violet Twilight, and then they were playing Glister most of the time.
But I think at some point during the season, he'd already done it by this point. I think it was during like.
he probably had.
I think I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was before. It was before we got into Countdown Cup.
But that was whichever was. We didn't really talk about that narrative, which was a fun narrative of the Violet Cassidy play. And Violet just playing DPS in general for that team. I think that's also when the narrative of like FD God wasn't good started happening too. Of like, I think was around there.
That was around all the time.
Yeah,
It was, but I feel
It
like
was from the main melee.
Didn't it reach a fever pitch somewhere?
Bro, who the fuck can tell that it's constantly a fever pitch with the San Francisco fans? I don't know
Yeah.
when that.
Let's analyze the
reached
social media
peak.
analytics. Let's get a timeline going. Let's see the spikes.
Kurt to the lab.
I don't really remember the Summer Showdown finals and stuff. Were they good?
No, I
Someone
don't
jog
either.
my
I think
memory.
Shanghai was pretty dominant against
It
Chengdu.
was Shanghai.
they just shit on them?
4-1-ing. They were
Yeah, I
4-1-ing
thought-
Chengdu, and Chengdu did like because the problem with Chengdu a lot of the times is that it wasn't like I remember it wasn't like a total blowout because I think the Koth maps were relatively close. Like Chengdu, I think
yeah.
the one map they
Monk was
won was a
insane, I
Koth,
think.
and then their other Monk played really, really well. This was like the Monk explosion time because he looked fucking crazy. And the Koth maps were close. It's just Chengdu because I think the one map they won was a Koth map, and then everything else I think they looked kind of lackluster on.
Yeah, and Isayaki was insane too. So Shanghai.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so the problems that plagued Chengdu is like they had still just great individual performances and like some good micro plays, but they just never had really the overall strategy or tempo to like beat any of the better teams.
Yeah.
So
Isayaki pretty much built his entire season on this stage alone. I feel like, and I'm not saying that to like discredit his other stages, but I feel like most of the time when we talked about Shanghai, it was always like Lip, but Faith because of his wrecking ball play, and then in summer showdown, like Isayaki really came alive, and he started like even being like the MVP conversation and like Gold Star conversation, because of that Senora play of his. So
this is also, I think, around here is when the narrative that Fielder could not play Xin started occurring too.
I mean,
which I think is functionally incorrect. Yes, I think he can play Xin. His Xin was good. His Xin was good. And
he did play a lot of Moira and Ana the entire season.
He did. And which are both great, but like this narrative that Fielder couldn't play Xin randomly occurred, and his Xin was good. I remember it pissed me off. It pissed me off because the Xin was good.
It made him very upset.
Okay. What's the next one? Countdown Cup.
Yeah, the Countdown Cup was...
Go on.
That's the end of the sentence. That's the end of the sentence. It just
asking us to
existed.
fill in the blank?
No, that was the end of the sentence. The Countdown Cup was. It occurred.
This is Cards Against Humanity.
I need a bracket to remind me of what happened. Who was in it?
This was the Countdown Cup. This is when Glads won. Glads won Countdown Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Shanghai and Dallas took the stage off. They were just like, we're not practicing.
This was a banger.
Yeah, and Shock was good again. And Shock was
tournament.
playing Twilight Violet double flex the whole time. And they had like solidified the roster. They also played super full time. They weren't splitting time with Smurf or anything that much, except for like Koth. So this is when Shock figured out their player rotation. It's when Glads, all their pieces clicked. And also this is when Defiant fucking snuck in to the plans.
Yeah,
and
they did.
Proceeded to beat Paris, which was the final nail in the coffin to my Paris copium.
Man, I remember. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go on.
I was gonna say I remember like rooting for Paris so hard to make it through, just to see what the Overwatch League would do about getting them to Hawaii. I really was curious about what was going to happen in that scenario, but also I thought that out of all the teams, like the European teams, where they hadn't had an opportunity to play in the same room, like the entire season long, it must have sucked. Like if they had the opportunity to go there and actually play all in person, what's happened in the past with circumstances like that is like you see sometimes teams just level up. I don't know. We might have seen a completely different circumstance, but
I think no matter what, they weren't gonna go, right? Like
that's what Avala said.
Paris said that they, even if they had earned the opportunity, they weren't gonna go because they hadn't been vaccinated.
Yeah, because vaccines
were not available. They weren't available for Europe.
In Europe.
Yeah, it wasn't like they weren't getting vaccinated. It's just they didn't have vaccine availability in Europe at the time.
Yeah. I got my vaccines like 3 or 4 months before my parents, which is crazy because they're a bit older, more and get exposed to COVID and stuff. But they just didn't have that in Sweden available at the time. So, and then it gets staggered with like the second shot. And
wait, we did the Plat chat hero bands with marbles here for Summer Showdown, and we're look at us in our suits.
Dude, why can Matt never sit up in frame of his camera?
It's incredible, isn't it?
He likes to give. He uses the camera tricks that they used in Lord of the Rings to appear smaller. Oh god, Connor, what's happened to you?
Oh, I'm just getting pics. It's because we're touching the past too much. I'm beginning to deform the timeline.
Oh, this was a ridiculous occurrence. This is when I was taking my mental health break as well.
God,
now
I
you
need
have
one.
titanium missiles so much. Yeah, but think about that, Bren. Now your mental's titanium.
Oh, it's actually kind of funny that just, I don't know. I was looking back at some of the old, because I've been packing recently, and I found some old like stuff from 2019, and I would like consider 2019, I think, to be like my most successful year in terms of like career progression and but looking back at it, my mental health has always just been so shaky, and then it just went in 2020 and 2021, but 2021 was like the rebuild year, and now I'm in a good place mentally where I can come on the show and say things without caring about hurting my friends' feelings. Matt calling them Lord of the Ring.
I mean, to be fair, when you think about
Hobbit.
What a ridiculous moment it was for us to do the hero bands for a multi-million-dollar league with marbles. You know, with marbles online.
Yeah,
But that was
Yeah.
one
I think
thing
some of the players were like, "What the fuck are we doing here?"
I
Yeah.
really liked.
it's just random anyway, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's random either
RNG.
way for the most part.
It was
It's-
less random when we got Zoe's cat, I think, to pick them.
Oh, pick the
'Cause-
hero band. Speaking May.
Cats are very intelligent.
They're creatures of habit.
Are you saying she had trained it to pick me?
I'm not saying that she had trained Nori. I'm simply saying that the cat had already determined which area it preferred to paw in terms of placement.
Yeah, you know, cats are, I think, less random than marbles.
I would agree with that statement. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
That's fair.
What time
Do you
is it in
think-
the UK right now, Josh?
It's 2:30 in the morning.
2:30?
Yeah.
What time have you been going to
asleep.
bed recently?
I've not. Well, I've been waking up at like 8, 9. I've got a schedule. I've booked a court to play badminton at 10 a.m. So
To play badminton. What
This is your
are
favorite
you,
sport. You didn't know this?
yeah,
who you
Favorite sport.
playing badminton with?
my brother and my mother and 2 friends.
The other 2 friends. That's 5 people.
How do you play with 5 people?
How are you gonna do that?
A
Are you gonna be
UFC,
swapping out?
the
Are you gonna
UFC
do-
octagon ring, and you all take
Well,
turns? And
Now I think about it,
Hit
one of
against
the
the-
friends might not be coming. That might be why.
I
I
was
don't know
thinking
what's
more
going
like a
on there.
3-legged race type of thing. where
Actually,
one of you
no,
are
it
taped
is.
together.
There are 5 people going, and we haven't planned for that. So I think one person's going to have to sit out the whole time. We'll
So
just have to rotate
okay, well
one.
that's
you just
okay.
rotate people. Somebody wants a rest,
Exactly.
they rotate. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
It's
do a
fine.
3-legged race. If you tape 2 people together, they can be one super person, and they can play that way.
Can we get on to some of the awards?
Well, we still need to recap the Owl Playoffs
You want to
2021.
skip the play?
Also, we still haven't done. We didn't really talk about Countdown Cup that much.
we
No.
kind of did.
All we
The
can say is
playoffs were cool.
Glad. All
The
we can
shoe
say
plays.
is Glad's good, Rain good. Defiant fucking destroyed my fucking
Yeah.
Eternal Bucks. They
Shoe
destroyed
Changer
it.
was good. Soul, we thought they were good, but they were not that good. They were just
Yeah,
okay.
Shock also, they figured out their player rotation. I mean, also, you know, speaking of narratives throughout the whole regular season, I think this is also when we look back and we're like, holy fuck, Shock finished the regular season 12-4, but everyone was like, wow, Shock wasn't good.
I was
Yeah.
always
But they
high up
weren't
on
elite.
Shock.
Yeah.
They
Huh?
weren't elite until its very final
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah, but the thing is, they still finished regular season in first place in an A, right? Even like, but despite not being that
Yeah, I mean,
good,
they
and
were the
figuring out
sole
player
dynasty
rotation before.
of the Western
So,
Division.
do we want to talk about the playoffs?
Yeah, let's talk about playoffs now. We can talk about playoffs. Now.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I mean, in my mind as well, with the playoffs themselves as well, it was unfortunate that like kind of the other esports events surrounding Owl at this time had kind of begun to work out systems to have tournaments being played at LAN. And I remember, at least for me, if you were just following Overwatch League, I imagine it wouldn't have been too bad because it was just the same as what we got like throughout the season, which was the teams meeting in the middle with servers in Japan or Hawaii or whatever. But yeah, I remember just feeling quite, I don't know, just kind of flaccid.
I think that's okay. That's a comment. I think that's an interesting question to pose though, because I was there. Okay, I was in Hawaii, and obviously that was amazing. I loved it. But for you guys had to rate the playoffs like 1 to 10. Like what did you think of it?
Oh,
Like
1
the
to
show
10.
and the broadcast and the matches and the hype.
I think it wasn't very well portrayed to viewers, but the problem with having those kind of criticisms is that it's relatively difficult when you don't have all of the teams, you know, like gathered together in an arena where you're planning to do the production out of and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you can't really rate it the same way that you would rate a normal event. You have to be more lenient. You have to give it more props for what it did do. I think one of the biggest things it failed on, though, is just delivering good player shots, like player shots, player reactions. That stuff was really, really missing.
Because this was
it
around
didn't really feel like you were there with them in the same way that some other.
This was around the time that
productions have been able to.
there was the Delta variant, right? And that's because the original plan was to have live events, I think, for the playoffs and for the grand finals.
Yeah, they had the Dallas stadium, right?
Yeah, but I think it was the Delta variant, and also just the threat of it, especially with so many of the players being from countries that hadn't had readily accessible vaccines, meant that they had to shift to this. And yeah, I agree with your point, Josh, as well. I shouldn't really be focusing on comparisons, but I completely agree with your point about the player shots as well, because some of them were just just the shot of the player room in Hawaii, like even if it's remote, it was such a weird camera shot. It was like a low quality webcam camera shot of just a side profile of the room.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And then, I mean, when Shanghai won the entire thing, it just felt a little surreal.
Disconnected.
That they were just kind of on the stage and looked at each other and they were like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was I think it was the most bizarre grand finals. It was more bizarre than DJ Khaled doing his dance in season 1 was the grand finals, how it felt, because it was like, so it was like 4 different events for one grand finals is what it felt like. That was all conjoined.
Oh, well, they had the Overwatch 2 thing in the middle of it as well.
Yes,
so
and then also that was also
bizarre.
extremely like lukewarm received as well, which just added to like the what the fuck is going on feel, you know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the worst playoff so far, but of course it's going to be that because of the situation.
Yeah, the circumstances. So, you could tell it meant a lot to you guys on the desk.
2020.
Well, exactly. That's what I was going to say. There's no reason it should be worse than 2020, but
I don't think the playoffs were like the actual matches. It felt weren't that bad. It's just kind of another.
I'm not saying it was bad, but you know, you're comparing it to like the other best moments of the league normally when the playoffs and the finals and stuff. All of our finals though have been shit, to be honest. Like the actual like shows have been great, but all of the actual matches have been
and I mean
poor. The actual grand finals,
Atlanta,
not the stage finals.
It should have been Dallas, Shanghai. I mean, the winner bracket final we had was incredible. Like between Dallas and Shanghai,
that was a good
day. That was incredible. And then Atlanta just kind of showed up to the finals and were like, "Well, we lost. Sorry, guys."
Yeah, they really did not show up at all to the finals. It's often the case though in tournaments where you find that the semis are the best match. One of the semis,
for sure. Yeah,
is often the best match.
That's not exclusive to Overwatch at all. That's just how it happens. But yeah, it's just been a weird 2 years.
Yes.
But I mean, we still had some pretty fun Overwatch. You know what? It's reminded me here. One of my favorite moments of the entire year is that dumbass lip EMP that he went for off the edge on this stage.
Oh, yeah. Who was he going for? Like the Farah Mercy?
He was going for the Farah Mercy. I think that to me is the most memorable moment of the year for me. If I think about the entire year, I'll think, God, I'll never see that again. Just a fucking crazy play. And that guy as well is like the MVP, you know, like the elite level player. And he goes for that. It's just the two in your head are so opposed.
You know what I loved about this playoffs too is that after a year long of Houston fans just going fucking crazy about the team, they lost to Justice and didn't make playoffs. That's what I thought was really funny about playoffs. Was Houston fans, they were fucking wild. They were like, we're so fucking good, dude. This team's so good. And then despite all the evidence pointing to this team not being that good the entire year, and then they get the playoffs and they lose to Washington Justice, who is another just tepid as tap water, like in terms of just like assery. They were tepid ass the whole year. They weren't crazy ass. They weren't really bad, but they were just tepidly ass. Yeah. And then they lost to Justice, and I just thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Oh,
also, it was really funny because like everyone sort of felt it coming. Because when we saw the play-in bracket, we were like, well, I mean, you know, the favorites are the favorites. Like Shock are the favorites, and then Outlaws are the favorites. But there was a smell. Like imagine the smell. You just smelled an upset where Houston Outlaws would actually go out and all their fans would be disappointed. You could see it coming a week away from the play-ins. And then it just happened ever so naturally in a 5-round series.
Yeah.
Some great games though. I mean, some banger matches. Genuinely really good Overwatch. Did you see the video that Oh, damn. Now I need to credit the guy properly. Did you see the video that...
Oh, is that talking about like the Overwatch coda that was made by Rydaris?
Yes, Rydaris, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a YouTube video called Overwatch Coda, and it's like a homage to this season of Overwatch League, and it made me, when I was watching it, it's like a very emotional piece. It's tied together some casting narratives, some slow motion shots. It's got some like overarching storylines that it weaves in throughout, and it just reminded me how fucking good playoffs Overwatch is. But then the regular season games just muddy everything. Like,
Yeah.
It's the same. I have the same opinion every single year at the end of the year, which is regular season Overwatch. I take it or leave it, man. I'm not a big fan. It's all right. It does the job. But playoffs Overwatch, that's the good shit.
Why do you think that is? Do you think there are too many regular season matches?
I think
it's just... Yeah.
I don't even know that it's too many, but they just don't have importance. They don't seem to do enough. But the playoff, and it's also because there's too many bad teams. Because it's a franchise system, there's always bad teams or mediocre teams. And you just, if you're like me, I just don't care to watch them. I just don't care. Like, if you're bad, I don't want to watch you and root for you to improve. Come back to me when you're good, because I enjoy watching the players that are incredible and the like battles that happen between the two of them. Someone makes a sick play, someone counters with another incredible one. You can see a set play develop, someone pops off and breaks it up. Like, there's just so many moments that are magical within those playoffs matches because the teams are elite, and there have been amazing moments throughout 2021, and I love them all. And if you could just narrow it down to the top teams from whatever stage and just feed me the finals, I'll be good. I'll be happy.
My hot take from 2021, especially the playoffs, was that Shock was the, at minimum, second best team in the playoffs, and I think they could have won it. That's my copium take added on, is that they could have won the whole thing.
If they had just not beefed versus Rain,
Mm-hmm.
that what you're saying? I mean, I don't think that's completely unfair, because I do feel like Shock, once they figured out their player rotation, was really good. But the thing is that Rain had their game down just so perfectly by playoffs time.
My issue with the Rain is I don't know if it's, you want to call it the paper thin mental or what, but in terms of performing in playoff scenarios, like the really high pressure scenarios, I thought they had overcome it, but they hadn't, because they just flopped in the finals. I think if the Shock ended up in the finals, or Dallas ended up in the finals, but I think the Shock were the second best team,
I think
it would have been a
Shanghai
very
was
different
that good as
2021.
well. I mean, Shanghai were just that good. I think you recognized after that Dallas series that Shanghai were just like better than everyone. Like, it wasn't even close.
But also, Bren, what do you mean by Shock were the second best? Because do you just mean that they massively underperformed in their game against Atlanta?
Yeah, well, not massively underperformed, but underperformed at the key moments, I think.
Yeah,
like the defining moments of that series, like there were mistakes that were made that lost them it. And I think you run that one back 100 times, I think the Shock would edge it out. And I think just the experience that they have is so much more valuable when it comes to when you're really whittling down to those key matches, especially like the lower finals and then the eventual finals.
Well, I definitely believe that Shock would have put up a better fight in the final, but I also think that that's a stylistic difference more than anything, personally, because Atlanta just looked amazing playing like rush against rush kind of stuff. They really just knew everything about how that comp worked. But then they had no answers to what Shanghai was doing. Whereas I think Shock were much more adaptable. Like, they could have figured out, relied on some of that experience to give them different answers on the fly. But that doesn't mean that they're still going to win the head-to-head, like, mirror match kind of thing. I think
That's why
Atlanta
I said
was a
the
better team in the
copium
mirror.
take is that they would win it all, but I thought this at the end of the playoffs, but it was essentially drowned out because basically it was just a doomer narrative over the course of the Shock season by a lot of the fans that was dominating it. I've always been pretty high up on them. And then the playoffs themselves as well, I just remember watching it and thinking, yeah, in that one instance, like Atlanta looked really fucking good. Like, don't get me wrong, they looked like an insane team. Maybe they should have just entered the grand finals and pretended they were in a regular season match or something. I don't know, because
By the way, what was that? Can you rewind like 10 seconds? I still don't understand this play, by the way.
Above Lige gone?
No, not this one. The one after this. Okay, look at this.
Okay, so this is
How did he walk past him?
No, it's just he literally just wasn't expecting it. I remember watching this live. This was so fucking ridiculous because it just you never expect anyone, especially the Ana, to be sitting there. So he was. I guarantee you, he was walking forward because what a player would be doing in this moment. He's like, he's calling the flank. He's like, he's looking at, he's like checking something else. He's like looking in a different direction, and he's just calling the flank, like calling, like I'm flanking. Like here comes the flank, and then he's just waiting, and he's just waiting, and they just get the kill.
Well,
I mean, they weren't flanking though. They were just checking their spawn.
They were checking the comp, and he was probably holding on tab. And also, if you go into the replay view and look at it, there's a blind spot basically.
Well, yeah, but either way, he definitely wasn't. He definitely was not worried about that. He was pressing tab. He was calming. He was doing something that was like not checking their angle, like because you literally would never expect an Ana to be playing it.
Of course,
Ever.
Yeah. But that video is extremely good. If you want to go and take a watch of it, that one's from Wider Russ.
Pretty recently.
3 days ago, 2 days ago.
It was pretty recently.
I must have missed it.
It was a good video though. It's a good video. It's hard to like really capture all the thoughts and feelings of the season because the season's kind of long, but also because like the regular season component, I feel it does make it. And also, like Bren said, the lack of changing backgrounds for any of this, like we're not really moving about or going to see other different things that I feel like it can be tough to remember.
It blends everything together is the unfortunate reality of it. Blends it all together.
I think by the end of the season though, I think in reflection though, this was once again probably the most, outside of having actual LAN events, was the most refined the format has been.
Yeah, it was a great format.
And the format of the Overwatch League itself had essentially been distilled to the best you could get it to be under the current circumstances. Like, obviously, the only other thing you could do better would be have true LAN competition with all the teams consistently. So,
yes, and not split it into regions as well.
Yes.
I really hope that for next season, assuming they can get back to like, local competition, we don't just have it permanently split with like an East and a West division, because that ruins shit to me as well. It's nice to have them clash at the stage finals every now and then, but it just limits the amount of top competition as well, because you constantly recycle the same teams over and over.
I mean, the splitting would be fine if it was more like, if it was like a regional stuff, like in the Riot ecosystems, like LCS, LCK, LEC, or like how Valorant does it, where they have all the regions, like, and there's enough teams there to where
they have
you're not necessarily
teams.
Yeah, exactly. So like splitting isn't necessarily bad in and of itself. It's more so because of how the league's franchise.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's bad.
The split is uneven as well. So I mean, you have two teams in Apex that are usually just like garbage. So like Valiant and Guangzhou for a couple of seasons has just been like, like those matches, like Josh said, like they don't matter. They're not that entertaining anymore because like you know the outcome already. And so if you have those teams go up against the likes of Paris, Boston, Florida, who are like roughly similar in skill level, then I think you get more interesting matches where you want to see how they compare to some of the other teams at their level, rather than just getting stumped by Shanghai, Chengdu, and Seoul all the time. So,
is it time to move on?
Yeah, probably.
Is it time to go to the award show section?
Yeah. Do you want to do the nominations?
The nominees.
Well, I think we still had. I don't know. I see on the run of show here that we still had a couple other topics.
No, we're skipping it.
Or did we axe them?
We've axed them.
Axe them. Okay.
As an executive decision.
Sure.
I have eliminated
as a host of the show.
All right, he's the host.
I have executed them. Get them out of here.
Can you host us then?
Oh, yes, sorry. Oh. So begins the nominations of the Plat Chat 2021 award show. Everybody, and I mean everybody, and this was Listen, Connor in particular, he was telling me in private DMs, he was saying, I put a lot of thought into this. I mean, Connor was saying he was whittling away and
Dude, he was DMing me all week. I had to block
Yeah.
him for a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to block him, had to simmer
It
him
was
down, but here we are.
agonizing.
We're going to go through some nominations, starting with the best highlight of the year, the nominees.
R.
Okay, I'm gonna start kicking this one off. Mine, I've already mentioned it, is that Lippy MP. That to me is highlight of the year worthy. It was funny, it worked, it was followed up by a Fleder like
Let me try and
triple
find
blink
it and I'll
pulse
send
bomb onto the Pharah. It was some sick, memorable shit.
I will say the reason why I find this highlight so entertaining as well is because there was that pause, like right before he did it, where he like looked at them. Like you could see like how his brain was like processing, like, will I be able to pull this off? And a very similar moment, in fact, was when Fran on Hollywood, he went over the roof to drop the graviton surge. I think in that moment as well, like the casters were like, well, what are they doing? They're taking this elevator. And you could see in real time how the play was setting up and how they were actually thinking about doing it before they pulled it off. And that was just like a very magical moment, similar to the Lippy MP, where you could like see him set up for this. And then when it actually happened, everyone was just like, holy shit, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, he's just looking at them the whole time, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you.
Great job to the observers.
I mean, to be fair, he did get the mercy, so you know, like it wasn't like, and also he denied the Pharaoh from being in the fight, essentially.
And then Fleder
entirely.
sticks a pulse on the Pharah because the
Yeah.
Pharah's just stuck on the floor.
So it wasn't.
like,
It was a funny play, but it wasn't even like the worst. We're thinking about. I think it also happened on this map because I have two highlights that I can think of. It's one because this reminded me of another one. This reminded me of the
You have so many-
the assassin Sombra play. Here wasn't it also on Ilios where he EMP'd 0 people on the point in like OT or something,
Yeah.
come on, man.
and he was
Yeah,
just
it
like
was.
he
That's
was
your
just
highlight?
like cloak. That well, yeah, because it's just fucking
That's your
ridiculous.
highlight of the
That's your
year.
highlight. Do you understand
was
the
funny.
definition of
It
highlight?
was funny. It was funny. It was a funny moment.
Highlight.
It was
Up
a funny
here.
moment.
Cool
funny
play.
moment. Funny play.
Why can't funny plays not make it
Low
into the
light.
highlights of the year?
Low light.
Okay, fine. Okay, highlight. Chongzik fucking going bonobo mode after they win their first match and only match for Vancouver Titans when they beat I
Turn
think
down the volume here, Kurt.
Boston.
I
Is
gave
it
him a tip
Boston,
too.
right? They beat Boston. They win their one match of the season, and Chongzik just explodes his microphone in the replay. Like they play the replay on the broadcast, and he straight up gobbles that shit. And it's just it's just an explosion when Chongzik finally wins. It's so funny. That's a highlight. How about that?
Loud
Is that
and
good enough for
you're
you?
right. Yeah. Vancouver won their first
Thank you
match.
for that. You
gotta
want to go,
mention
Johnny?
the shoe play, right? I mean, there's 2 shoe plays. Here we go,
Yes.
by the way. Here it is. He's so happy as well. If you look at his cam.
Yeah. And he is just explodes the mic.
I'm trying to find one of my
I'm gonna go with
favorite
the 2 shoe
moments of
plays.
the season,
I mean,
but it is a low light, so but I also can't find it.
all right, I'll just cover these 2. So the first one was, of course, Shu versus Shock when it was wrapping up on Havana for the Countdown Cup stage qualifiers. And then there was this one, Countdown Cup finals to win the series
I mean, this
Oh,
one,
against the Change Hunters.
this one
play
is the play of
unreal.
the year. I mean, this
Yeah.
one just wins.
It does.
Yes.
Absolutely crazy.
I
And
mean,
it-
this was ridiculous.
It wasn't caught on broadcast as well.
I think
right?
this
Like,
was arguably because like when we were doing this play and like we're all talking about our collective brain rot of like what clips, like what are even the clips to think about. This is the only actual gameplay clip I could straight up think off the top of my head was
Yeah.
the shoot play.
like the highlight clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is the only actual gameplay clip. Like the Chonzik one was like, oh, okay, this is a funny clip. Like this is cool. But I cannot think of like an actual gameplay clip outside of this one because of my brain rot.
Also, it's so rare that you get one of these amazing highlights at the most crucial time as well.
True.
Like sometimes they'll just come out of like thin air and you're like, oh my god, that was a great play. And it's like some random regular season match, map 3 doesn't really matter at all. That was like the last map of the finals, of an actual stage finals, in like with like 1 minute remaining, and he just pulled that off, which just added to the moment.
Ridiculous play.
Also,
Absolutely
I feel
ridiculous.
like in Overwatch, a lot of the things that actually decide matches, you doing one thing in like 5 consecutive team fights. You know, like Overwatch isn't necessarily a highlight game. It's like Fate's Wrecking Ball stopping 5 consecutive initiations by Dallas. You know, that's not a highlight, but it's like that won them the match. That's such a sick thing, but it's spread out over a long period of time. Highlights like that are nuts because it defines how the match goes, as well as just being contained within 10 seconds.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments over the course of the season, again, is a low light, and I cannot remember what the play was. But I remember what map it was on. It was Havana, point B. And
Havana.
And it was, I mean, I've erased it from my memory, but I just remember screaming, someone call E6, someone call E6.
Oh, that was Assassin. He missed the EMP.
Yeah, Assassin again. It was another Assassin EMP moment.
Yeah.
It was a different EMP, same guy.
Some of the was this also Summer Showdown, I believe?
Oh, there were so many, Kurt. Like, it's going to take ages to find it.
This is the compilation.
Yeah.
Someone's made a compilation.
The
video.
240p compilation. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Wow,
I love
that's
it. It looks
very
like, yeah, actual recorded for DS.
Well, Assassin just EMP'd me.
Holy man. Wow, Johnny's getting he's getting a car wash. You're washing the room right now.
Oh,
That's
God.
nice.
Wow.
Poor Assassin.
Lovely. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
No, always back. Popped into existence.
But yeah, that one was so funny. Didn't he like solo that one play you talked about? Didn't he like try to solo EMP?
EMP the Tracer, yeah, on Ilios, I believe.
Missed the Tracer. Or
That,
something?
I mean, yes, the most throw.
Yeah.
But he also
this
tried
one's good
to.
as well. This one.
no,
this
no.
one. Oh, that one. This one's so bad. God, poor Assassin. Poor fucking Assassin.
This one's like BQB, where he just ran into Volskaya pit as soon as he got out of the spawn doors. Do you remember that from last year? That was from the year before, I think.
God, there are so many. I thought this was an
It's all just
exaggeration.
Assassin. No, his EMPs were atrocious.
No, I know they were atrocious. He actually did make improvements towards the end of the year, I thought.
He did. Yeah, he
Yes,
looked a
he
lot
did.
better towards the end of the year.
He looked a lot better,
Oh.
but my God, he had so many moments.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I feel bad for the guy.
Oof.
Yeah. But you know, I think.
But
this is
also,
just-
what isn't captured in this is that he would spend 20 minutes behind enemy lines doing nothing and then waste his EMP.
Yeah.
It was incredibly frustrating. I don't know whether the guy was just overthinking the shit out of it or what, because of all the failures that he'd had, but it compounded and just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
There's no way this is a miss.
Oh no.
it's he gets 2, but like they're both essentially unkillable.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and then the
it's-
sleep die into the postpone. Was this it here?
Oh, this is it.
He's
Is
dead?
it this one? The member
Avast.
ball.
oh really?
deemed it.
Me teaming it.
You deemed it the
teamed
most
Wow.
memp of memp.
Wait, but I didn't see.
Wait, there's another one coming
Wait,
up.
what was the
There's
mimp
one
of all
after
mimps?
This was
There
it.
is.
Oh, this is the mimp of all mimps. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
'Cause he had-
rewind it?
Yeah, go back like a second. I remember this one. He drops the mimp on the flank and solo EMPs the Tracer on
I
the
remember.
flank.
God.
Oh God, it was such a terrible EMP.
Just
Such a terrible
Yeah.
EMP. Like what the fuck? And what in Christ Almighty was this EMP?
I
Because
don't know.
I mean, oh my God.
I don't know what the thought process was. It wasn't. It was. This has literally injected passion into my veins. I've had a moment of clarity. The brain fog is cleared, and now I can see again. Dude, what was he thinking in terms of the geometry here as well? Like, dude, you have so many barriers between you and any target.
Oh.
He tried to get that Tracer in the doorway.
In a doorway. In a doorway.
And the Tracer still had blinks and just
I mean,
blinked
also on top
away.
of that, his team was in literally zero position to like, even if he got this pick, I don't even know what that was going to open up for them in that moment, because he would have killed a Tracer solo on the flank, which could come back fast. And his team wasn't currently making, I think, a lot of progress anyways. So it was just kind of a useless kill. It was going to be a useless kill.
Yep.
Even if you had killed him.
Yep.
Like, it would have opened up where they could have made some aggression, but they could have Defiant literally just could have played back or like tried to make a counterplay because they were close to goal. It's like, yeah.
Let's move on to the next nominee and the next nominees here for our next award, which is the Most Underrated Player of the Year award.
This one is hard.
It is a
This is very
hard
hard.
one, yeah. Mine's Assassin.
No,
Fuck off.
No.
Yeah.
It just can't be. You're not allowed to say
He's the most
assassin.
talked about non-great player in the league.
I'm joking, it's not. I don't know who my nominee is.
Mine was Muse from the LA Gladiators. I think this guy is legitimately a great tank in the league. I think his Winston and Wrecking Ball, I think they're really good. And I felt like on the show, the Gladiators, they were always talking about space, Shu, the DPS to Kevster and Birdring for like obvious reasons. You know, the great skewed, amazing Brigitte. But so I feel like Muse was just like left out. I feel like he was just left out of that conversation all the time because there were so many other great stars on that team. I'm really looking forward to see him in the next year as well.
I think this year
he's
is
on a
going to be
great
the
roster now.
proving year. I think this is going to be the proving year for Muse, for your take to see if it's like, if he really was underrated. Because I think the thing about Muse is that he was pretty solid and relatively well-rounded. But the thing I didn't like about Muse is I felt he was extremely passive. I felt like he was a very, very safe main tank.
Shit ton.
He did. He died a shit ton on Ryan, but that's because I think at the time they weren't getting how to play around him on Ryan. And he didn't understand exactly how he was going to play Ryan with that team. But I think he was a pretty well-rounded and pretty solid main tank. But I did not like his play style that much.
All right.
I did not like his play style, and I think it's going to hold back because he's on Defiant now, right?
Yeah, it's on Defiant.
I think it's going to hold
nice
back
team.
that team unless it like he's able, since now he's going to be in like an all Korean roster. Maybe they'll be able to have a little bit more better overall comms and like figure out their structure more. Because when I was watching him, it was like a worrying trend of like main tanks that can be too passive and aren't taking the space available. It kind of reminded me of like a much better Roar, like a much better Roar. Like his mechanic. I think his mechanics were better. His overall hero pool and understanding the game was better. But I just felt like
I think a lot of people are a much better Roar, man.
But the point being is like in terms of his play style and how passive he was and like what his plays he went for a lot, they were just low value a lot of the times.
I quite like the Muse suggestion. Ignore Connor. I quite like it.
Thank you, Bren.
But I think he was underrated for a team that did that well.
I have two nominations, if you'll allow me. The first one is very similar to Jonathan's, actually. It's a good main tank that got overlooked because the rest of his team is even better. So, like, the guy is still one of the best main tanks in the league. And specifically, the reason I'm nominating him is because I thought he should have deserved a role star, and he didn't get one. And I think it almost becomes a snubbing that Fate did not get a role star for tank. And instead, I think we had like Void, Hanbin, and Space, something like that. Like we had 3 off tanks. To me, Fate's contribution to win them the June Joust, I mean, he won them the June Joust. You can talk about the rest of the Shanghai Dragons all you like. They've got MVP candidates from beginning to end. But it's Fate's Wrecking Ball adaptation that wins them the June Joust and sets them down this path of controlling the metagame for the rest of the year. And that, I think, was extremely overlooked when it comes to wider narratives and awards towards the end of the season. Yeah, the guy's not the most well-rounded. Well, no, he is well-rounded. He's not the best at every single main tank, but he is good on everyone, and he's the best on Wrecking Ball. And that ended up being incredibly important this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second one.
And then my second is FD God, because you've got to be in the candidacy for most underrated if everyone thinks you're shit. Your entire fan base is calling for you to get benched so that Violet can play Lucio. You've got to be in the candidacy for most underrated.
Yeah.
That's
Connor, what
rough.
about you?
Underrated. I had Fielder, because I think at one point, about halfway through the season, people were like, they weren't lumping Fielder, I feel like, at times into his elite flex support players about halfway through the season as much anymore. Like the first half of the season, everyone's like, oh yeah, Fielder's really good. His Morizon is amazing. But the Xin narrative took hold. The Xin narrative arrived like a great horde upon us. And then I thought it was an utterly bonkers narrative that was occurring because his Xin was still really, really good. And I think he was undoubtedly still a top flex support in the league, like a top, like definitely in like my opinion, top 5 and maybe even higher than that. But he was treated like a not top 5 player, I think, towards the latter half of the season. So I do think Fielder, especially because his hero pool was overall, since he could play Xin, it was a fact, his hero pool was really, really good. And then I guess if we're picking two at that point, because Josh is now throwing
You don't
a
have
second.
to if you don't want to. But
Because two of FD guy.
I'm not
Well,
picking
yeah.
that second one.
I mean, I'm just gonna throw out Vestola because I really like that player.
Honestly,
All right.
yeah, I don't hate it. I actually have a serious nominee to put forward to this one, and it's Kai. I think on Atlanta, because most often, obviously the spotlight's being shone on Pelican as a player, and he is a phenomenal player. But you can only the thing that made the Atlanta Reign so potent was the double threat of DPS, where Kai was the one who was, I mean, always clicking heads. Super consistent, but also consistent to such a high degree that if Pelican wasn't on a team, people will be essentially just bigging up Kai. Now, it's not that he wasn't without praise. People were definitely praising him, but most of the time, everybody was talking about Pelican. And Kai was more often than not an afterthought when it comes to like why the team was doing well. So yeah, that's my nominee.
His Torp is really good.
Yeah, Trop.
His Torp
Very strong.
is really good, which is like not even a meme because the Torp became such an important meta pick. I think at times due to the echo.
He was just he was flexible on a variety of things, and he could play every single hit scan to a very high level. And yeah, he was a core reason as to why Atlanta had any sort of success, just in terms of the amount of space that he created. If a team shut down Pelican, well, Kai's just going to be there to just absolutely eviscerate you. It's yeah. Anyway, we can move on to the next nominee. He's award personal favorite player of the year. This is your personal favorite player of the year.
I think this is so that Jonathan can make friends.
No, I just
That's such a pointed. It's such a pointed conversation topic right there.
What do you mean?
I think Jonathan's added in this award so that he can DM somebody afterwards and say, "I voted you as my personal
My favorite player.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to
Can you talk
see
to me now,
this show
please?
getting posted and then message Pelican and be like, "Yeah, I really enjoyed you this year, mate.
Is that your favorite
Do you
player
want
of
to
the
duo
year?
sometime, Pelican? Do you want to jump on the ladder?"
Is that your nominee?
Yeah, that's my nominee,
Yeah.
Pelican. I think there were a few different ones I could have picked here. I could have obviously picked anyone from Justice, but they were kind of disappointing, so I feel like that would have been Cope. There were a couple of good ones on Gladiator, but I feel like there was no like single shining star on the Gladiator because there were so many of them. So I picked Pelican here. I think, he really helped the Atlanta Reign come alive. He was a fantastic carry for this team. He played so many different heroes, whether it was like, taking on Dante in a Tracer duel, playing Pharah, playing whatever, like he could do it all. And it was a big carry for this team. So I really enjoyed watching Pelican in the Atlanta Reign this year. So Pelican, if you're out there, hit me up, add me on friends on Discord. Good old chat.
Add me on friends on Discord.
Atrocious.
Wow. What about you, Josh?
I'm going with the same player I always go with, man. I'm an enormous lip simp. I've been a lip simp since the day I was born. The guy's just good as heck. And yeah, I enjoy watching him. I think he's a fun player to watch. I think he's got interesting hero pool as well. He's fun to watch when he plays his classic roles of like long range hit scan, be that the Ashe or the Cassidy. He's amazing when he plays the Sombra. It's like watching the best in the world every time he's on Sombra. And then also his Tracer was crazy exciting to watch at the beginning of the year in the main melee. So yeah, he was my favorite player to watch this year.
Connor.
Josh did essentially explained my favorite player in his underrated player list. This was Fate. That was my favorite player because he was, like Josh said, all Josh's points were essentially the reason. He is, in my opinion, currently the best main tank in Overwatch. Overall, I think you cannot go wrong if you pick him on your team. You simply can't. He's too well-rounded and he is incredibly adaptable. So.
I'm sure he will relish being the best main tank that no longer exists in the game of Overwatch
Well, the thing
1.
is, essentially, if you think about it, his fame, as of now that I just said that, his fame has crystallized like a mosquito in amber. And now at this time, we have a snapshot. And like, if we were to open it up, Jurassic Park style, it's like, oh, this is the best main tank in Overwatch 1. It's fate.
Yes,
there he is.
Right. So you've just immortalized him at the
I've
very
immortalized him.
end
It's true.
of Overwatch 1.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of nominees just because I thought they were going to get mentioned as well in terms of this. The first one being Super, I think, is just you gotta have him in as a nominee in terms of your favorite player of the year.
Sure.
Love him or hate him, he's essentially the face of the league at this point.
Who hates him?
Some people actually
hate
don't
Super.
like him. Some people legitimately don't like him.
I don't know who they are,
How?
but I think they just don't like. I think they don't realize that the cocky persona is a persona. I think they genuinely believe him to be an incredibly arrogant individual, especially when you tune into his stream and he's just shit talking his chat and just calling them idiots. Like if you just are not good at spotting the social cues that he is just playing this persona up and magnifying it, then yeah, you'd probably dislike him, I guess. But no, he's a funny guy.
Clips of it.
Yeah, super up there. And then, did anybody want to say anything on that, Josh?
No. Carry on.
The second player is Space, I think, as a player. Because, again, another super personable player within the Overwatch League, has always performed at a very high level. And, just a chill dude. I think a good person to have on any sort of team as well.
Sparkle was also really fucking fun to watch this year. And as was Leave. I mean, obviously, Leave was just nuts and
beast.
Fun to watch. A freaker beast.
I do think Sparkle's actually, if I was gonna put a second, I would put Sparkle just because also his importance. He's kind of like, so Super is obviously insanely important because he is not only a talented player, but he is the face of the league, and he's arguably, I think at this point, the largest remaining Overwatch, like at least within the competitive sphere, content creator. Like in terms of someone that streams Overwatch consistently, I don't know of a bigger. He gets like 6,000 viewers, so I don't think there's a bigger pure Overwatch like on Twitch that's competitive minded content creator.
Game though.
Yeah, well,
he's a crab game streamer.
Yeah, he's a crab game streamer, whatever. But the point being is like, but also Sparkle, because what we needed desperately in this league, and it's been failed at both a broadcast level, not because it's broadcast talent's fault necessarily, but our overall strategy, I think at times with the league, and also it's at an organizational level too, is the ability to transfer Korean player personalities, non-Western player personalities to the audience. And Sparkle did that with, there was some good work from the Fuel content team, but it was mostly just him being so ridiculous and over the top as a person that made people really be invested in an all-Korean team, and be invested in him as a person and as a player, which is tough sometimes to get that Korean player personality across. So I do think that that's why he is like a really important figure in the league, and also why it's doubly tragic, besides just the overall tragic, but that Alarm passed away, because I think Alarm was also a very good Korean player personality in terms of being able to translate that personality to a Western audience at times when he was queuing with like Carpe and like some of those other stacks. It was really, even without understanding Korean, you'd be able to see like the fun that they were having and the personality at play there. So he's an important figure, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, definitely missed a trick in terms of translating a lot of that over towards, I guess, the Western viewership. We can move on, though, to the next award, which is Favorite Storyline of the Year. Your nominees, please, starting with Connor. We'll start with you this time.
I had the Sparks Revolving Door of Coaches. That's what I had. That's what I had as mine, because I was also, if you remember, really big on Spark going into the season. I was like, man, this roster fucking slaps. And then they had the Sky Foxes of coaching staff, where they went through like 64 coaches through the span of the year, and none of them could fix any of their issues. It was always a fucking disaster in the server. And I don't think we've ever seen such high coaching staff turnover in the league.
No, I don't think so.
It was just ridiculous. It's insane that the organization was working it that way.
What a disappointment that franchise is.
Yes.
They really had so many great tools, so many great players, and they just it's just been a dumpster fire for like 2 years.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to figure it out.
That was
Mm.
your favorite storyline of the year.
Yeah, because I thought, well, I mean, like, the thing is, there's a lot of good storylines, but Johnny also took one of my other favorite storylines.
You want to
Okay,
join
well,
in?
But I'm
this
not
time?
gonna.
You want to do
Okay,
it
well,
together?
No,
Johnny,
I
what's-
don't want to do it. But I don't want
Johnny,
to do it.
Okay.
What's your favorite
So-
storyline?
Me and Avast favorite storyline of the year. Assassin Sombra and Washington Woes. I mean, as part of the face of this movement as well, I thought it was just incredible to follow Assassin's highs, his lows, the substitution in and out of the K. Supposedly a superstar that doesn't have the confidence to play long hit scan. That was just great as well. So we got to see some Jerry instead. Some rationale about why the K didn't play in the first place. And then, I mean, Assassin's EMP, they were just a constant amusement. So yeah, I really enjoyed following Washington and Assassin this year. And also, Mag playing Wrecking Ball. I mean, Washington, it's just, there's just so many great storylines in every role. Tuba playing Brig. Did we forget about that?
No, we did not forget.
Jesus.
I've tried to purge it from my memory.
Yeah, the entire Justice thing. I mean, also, if you want to add, the thing is, it shows up later though, because a lot of these storylines kind of cross over into memes and like my favorite storylines. But like,
yeah.
obviously, like the whole Titans storyline of related
Okay.
to
Oh,
I mean-
we'll get
yeah,
onto
yeah.
it.
Josh,
we'll get onto it.
You need
Okay,
to save us
my-
from this brain rot that's occurring, where I feel like it's only memes that are being put forward.
Well,
How is that? The Spark revolving door is like not a meme. That's like just an organizational failure. That's an
Is it a
interesting storyline
it's a
because the team
storyline?
should have been better. Yes,
kind of.
that's a
Yeah.
storyline. That's definitely
Yeah.
a storyline.
I'm
is
not
just
going to shit talk your.
following-
I'm not going to shit talk your suggestions. It's your choice. You guys can put them up.
Okay.
But I
here's-
feel like we're missing
here's-
some clear ones.
Yeah, well, here's a clear one for you, but it's not mine. The Shanghai Dragons Dallas Fuel rivalry would have been a great storyline for this year, but it got spoiled by the fact that neither team really were invested in the Countdown Cup at all, and so
Yeah.
it kind of killed the hype. As people, we like storylines to have endings, catharsis, resolution, something like that, some cliffhanger, whatever it may be. It needs some ending, not to just flump away and never be resolved. And you could argue it kind of got resolved in the playoffs with Shanghai Dragons winning and beating out the Dallas Fuel in the, I think it was like upper bracket at some point.
Mhm.
But it really missed something with neither team giving a shit in the Countdown Cup. So that's not my favorite one. In fact, I think my favorite like narrative storyline of a team rising or falling is probably the Gladiators actually coming to win the Countdown Cup,
Mhm.
because it felt like they were a good team that was on the verge of putting everything together for a lot of the season, and they finally got it together and they looked elite during the Countdown Cup. And just the manner in which they won and how good that game was against Chengdu, on top of the fact that people were expecting Chengdu to win because we anticipated the meta to favor the APAC teams. So the slight upset result of it as well was just really, really sick. I enjoyed that narrative a lot.
Yeah, it was a cool one. For me, there's a couple that I can list off. I mean, the big one I think has to be the Shanghai Dragons winning overall and coming. I'm not gonna say the classic one is like, oh, Norton 40 to this. I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's a completely different team. It's the same franchise, but it's a different team. What is cool though is that the team largely stayed the same from the last year to the year that they won, and ran it back and ended up winning it in a very dominant fashion. Like the grand finals of 2020, again, I believe it was pretty close. Was it 4-2?
20.
Am I pulling that number out of my ass?
The grand
Yeah, it
finals
was
of
4-2.
2020.
It was
yeah.
I think it was a
Shock
4-2.
4-2. Yeah.
Yeah.
They won on every control hybrid or something like that.
Yeah, and to run it back in this year as well, and make it as far was like win the whole thing was also a pretty good one, I think. Yeah. Every other storyline just kind of got killed in playoffs. I was hoping for the Shock 3-peat. That got killed. Yeah.
I mean, thinking a bit more big picture as well, there is a cool arc with the Shanghai Dragons as well of being able to collect enough trophies over the course of the 2021 season, including the championship at the end, to actually be in the conversation for most successful franchise, because you've, in terms of like amount of winning that you've done, the San Francisco Shock probably can't be caught at this point when considering Overwatch 1 history, because they have those 2 championships. But depending on how much you weight the stage titles, Shanghai have a lot of those. I mean, they did incredibly well across 2 seasons back to back. They didn't win the championship last year, but they dominated in APAC and they won everything over there, or not nearly everything. So they've actually racked up enough in their trophy cabinet to actually have a chance of saying, oh, maybe the Shock aren't the uncontested best of Overwatch 1. Maybe it should be us, actually, considering the game got better as the years went on and we were actually the best team at the end, that kind of thing. So I think that's a really interesting big picture discussion that came out of 2021 and the Shanghai Dragons doing well.
Moving on. Our next topic, our next award that we're providing nominees for is favorite meme/pasta of the year. Meme/pasta.
Avast.
What
are the ones?
So actually, this one, I'm about to drop an arcane one, an esoteric one. Like, not as in like Arcane the show, but like more so like something that not a lot of people know, but I personally, it's just from my personal collection.
Is this the Martha Stewart L?
No, it's not. The Martha Stewart L is a very widely circulated meme. I included a link to it as well, Kurt. It's pre of the Washington Justice crushing the fears for Justice before their match.
Oh my God, I remember this.
And it's insanity. It's an insane clip. Because
this was peak Washington.
This was peak Justice moment. This is a peak Justice
fire.
moment. They're looking bad, and so they pop this. He's like, hey, this is giving a pep talk to the Justice about like to motivate them. Let's listen to this clip. I guess who can even hear this? There's no audio. There's no audio playing. Well,
read out the subtitles for us.
I think Brenn's brain turned off because he's just supposed to be the one that say that.
I got my mouth just open. I am gormless.
There's no audio
in this moment. I will do the I'll do the thing. I don't know what pre sounds like.
I can get one with audio real quick.
Can we? I can dub it.
Wait, do you know what I mean? This doesn't matter.
Just win. Means we are in the playoffs. Play-ins. Impossible for us to get knocked out. So we have a chance. We did this last year. Bottom of play-ins, doesn't matter. We can do it. First thing. Second thing, I know why we lose. Fury doesn't crush his regret. Everyone still have regret. Fury have regret. Everyone thinking about, Assassin, I missed EMP 2 matches ago. Baby, I go wrong place 3 matches ago. Chuba, my brig not very good 1 month ago. That's all we're thinking about. Past mistakes. You have to kill our past mistakes, Fury. And they're making him crush it. They're making him crush I think it was a ping pong ball.
Yeah, it's like a ping
Everything
pong
that happened
ball.
before, mistakes before, bad play, make a mistake. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Doesn't matter.
I love this moment because to me, it's pre-talking like he's like Jane Goodall talking to an ape. Like, because he's doing like broken English to them versus just like, I know he's trying to keep it simple, but it's just like this broken English rant to the players, like, crush your regret, Fury. Crush it. Crush your regret and we're going to win. And like, it's just, to me, I think it was such a funny, over-the-top thing that I just couldn't help. Every time I saw it, I laughed. I just laughed uncontrollably every time I saw it because I understand what he's going for, but the players all look bewildered. He's just like, crush your regret, Fury. It sounds like he's trying to give some sort of like life-turning moment to them, like turn their life around moment.
But I don't blame him at the same time because everyone were watching Washington's matches and like saw that hesitation in real time, and that was the big storyline about Washington, that they just hesitated, they couldn't pull off these EMPs like Assassin because like he didn't know when to go in, when to pull it off, etc. And so I think that just drove the Washington Justice staff mad as well, alongside all the fans and the broadcasters and everything. And so they just, that's pure desperation, just like crush your fears, crush your
regret.
and
Crush your regret.
yeah. And
So I personally was tickled by this when they posted it. I was tickled by it. So it's just one of my. It's a personal thing of mine that I just love. I just love that clip.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that was. I've been looking for the clip of what my meme was, so I found it. The one that I was looking for was when the Atlanta Reign decided to mercilessly bully the London Spitfire on King's Row, and they refused to capture the pod.
This is a good one.
And then they put in the chat, "It's not coming home."
Oh yeah, because this is around the World Cup time, right?
This
This
was
is the
like
Euros.
a week afterwards or something.
Yeah.
After
This is
the
the
Euros.
Euros, yeah.
That's
And
what it was.
There's not even an English player on the London Spitfire.
Well, hybrid, right?
Hybrid's not playing.
Oh.
There's nobody British on the team, and he's just like, let's fuck with this team that doesn't have a single win all season. We'll stand up the point and tell them that it's not coming home. I mean, what was going through the Atlanta players' heads there?
I don't know.
I don't know, but
you
it was
sound-
funny.
You sound like
I'm
you're
tilted.
taking offense to this. Yeah,
I'm tilted. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, this
tilted.
was after Josh got fucking destroyed watching the Euro Cup. So
I did.
it carried great
Yeah.
emotional.
That is a
attachment.
pretty
horrible.
funny meme in hindsight, because
It is.
allegedly, like all the British fans, because it was in London as well, they just like broke down all the security measures to get into the stadium, and people just like filled out the entire stadium like way over capacity.
Oh, they
Like,
did.
there were
Yeah.
so many people, like it was like the guards like couldn't even do anything about it at that point, because everyone's been drinking for like 4 hours. They just tore down everything. And I sometimes I just like to imagine like
Oh
that
my
scenario.
god, you're.
And like, imagine that it's just packed, like over capacitated with just British fans, like hundreds of thousands, or not hundreds of thousands, but like 100,000 fans in one single area
Josh is gone.
that see that in real time at the same time, and then just sadly walk away from that stadium, losing the World Cup.
In the pub, watching the Euros, the 2020 Euros, watching that, and I swear to God, I was, listen, I shouldn't have done it, but someone overtook me. You know, listen, it's, you know, with the pandemic going on, but I'm double vaxxed up, got my booster.
You get your
Bro.
booster there at the bar.
I was jumping, hopping around, and there was a family who had walked into the sports bar and were having a nice, I think, like just kind of reunion below the TV. They were having a nice reunion, and they didn't realize they had walked into a soccer bar. I say soccer because we're in America right now. A soccer bar, and two, the Euros was on. And they were just having a nice, casual, relaxed beverage. It was like an older guy with the family was there. And I was just fucking jumping up and down. Every penalty save, every penalty kick. I literally grabbed him, I think. He like put out his hand like this. And I don't know what I did. I think I just grabbed it like this and just went like this on my head. over and over again. I just like made him punch me in the head, like kind of like almost like he was blessing me in the moment, and just the heartbreak when it all came crashing down.
Yeah. So in summary, fuck Massa, but also good meme. Good meme.
Mimp deserves to go in there. Good memes for the year. I think Mimp is a funny one.
Definitely.
The obvious answer is, of course, breadsticks.
Yeah, I think breadsticks
course it is.
overrules all. Literally, is the one meme to rule them all.
It might be one of the best memes of all time from the Overwatch League.
The thing is
Breadsticks
that's
is
so
very good.
ridiculous about it is that it's one of those historical moments when you really think about it, of like the course of history was changed. Like it's like Archduke Ferdinand being assassinated and like World War I, because
Who?
think it's the guy that died and caused World War I, essentially. So Pretty much.
The guy that died is a very passive way of explaining an assassination.
Well, I said assassination though, so I mean he was assassinated. But
Oh, I see.
the point being, to me, this is such a ridiculous.
Jonathan didn't know who you were talking about because he knows him as Franz. He's he's tight like that. He knows.
Oh yeah, he just knows him by his first name. He just knows him by his first name. He does a seance and talks to him all the time. So the point being is that the breadsticks, when you really think about it, the Titans. See, I mean, you don't have to really think about that hard, but looking back, God, I'm fucking pixel washing out because they don't want me to talk. They're silencing me. Pizza Hut's not letting me talk about this one. The season was awful for the Titans. It was awful. Yet again, their team was dog shit, and they were competing for one of the worst teams in the league with comparatively to like London Spitfire and an organization that literally dumped its whole roster 5 minutes before the season started and had $20 to work with. So, this. And it was all saved by them just giving out breadsticks. And then when the breadsticks were finally achieved in this incredible moment,
Josh is ready for bed.
Where they didn't even get breadsticks. People didn't even get breadsticks when the breadsticks were earned.
What do you mean they didn't get them?
Initially, people couldn't claim them. The code, it wouldn't work. People were trying to claim the codes of the breadsticks, and they couldn't get them. They couldn't redeem the breadstick code after all this time.
God almighty. My favorite meme of 2021 was me and Josh trying to cast in the same room at the beginning of the season and getting told, oh yeah, we're working on it, or oh, it's not really possible, the entire season long until the playoffs. And there was just 5 feet between us, and we were casting on the virtual setup for the entirety of the season, and we could have just casted in person.
Avast, can you lower your mic on so I can see the cat?
That's one of them.
a cute cat.
Oh, the other one's right off frame. She's right next to her.
Has anyone got a pasta of the year?
Don't know any. Connor
Neither
spent
do
his
I.
entire season.
It's your
with-
job.
It has to be you.
Okay, so you have to understand something. That when there are two Connor Princes. There is the one that exists in the present, and the one that exists when the co-stream turns on. And essentially, when the co-stream turns on, I am just a stimulus tube. Stimulus enters one way, goes out the other. It's just stimulus back and forth. I don't know. I simply when it ends, I'm like I enter a fugue state like a berserker, and I simply don't know what happened.
You're like Jim Carrey in The Mask or whatever.
I don't know what happened before and after. So like there are some vague recollections, but shadows, light, but I don't know.
Whatever, man. We can move on.
Put them in the comments. Put them in the comments.
What's your
Put in the
favorite
comments your
pastas
favorite
in comments?
pasta. Good idea.
Pastas. Your favorite
And
Overwatch League coffee pasta.
not the carbohydrate kind, the words kind. Josh is he's
just
ready
got-
for bed.
What
He's
is
ready
he
for
doing?
bed. Let's wrap
He's
this up.
Bren's player of the week.
Short and sweet. This is actually Bren's player of the year.
All right.
Nominees, I suppose. So I don't know if we're all allowed to nominate a
No,
player.
just do it. It's yours.
player
This
of
is
the year.
yours.
Just me.
That's just yours.
I mean, I think there's a couple of nominees. I think Super being one of them, just in terms of, again, being a face of the league, playing to a very high level over a long period of time. Lip, for sure, in terms of the performance that Lip put up. And I want to add one more just to add some variability to it.
Biden?
The scientific community.
Yep.
I think the
That was a good
scientific
one.
community is the third one. I said I was going to keep it serious. I wanted to keep it serious, but the scientific community is the third one.
You just can't. I mean, they deserve it.
They do deserve
They did a
it for
great
all
job.
the work that's been done by the scientific community. Do you know? I mean, some crazy shit. You know, the James Webb Telescope.
That's true. That is pretty
Dude,
crazy.
that's some
The new
crazy shit
James
that the
Webb
scientific
telescope
community is
launched.
doing. 100 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope. And
Are you spoiling the Bren's player of the week?
no, this is not the Bren's player of the
Oh
week.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, Bren's. This is different. But I'm just want to say that the scientific community has recently had a really big win, which is actually, I don't think the telescope it still needs to be unpacking as it's traveling millions of kilometers away. But it's fucking cool. If you don't know about this, a lot of the images and information that we have from the observable universe comes from the Hubble telescope. They've just launched it. It's 100 times more powerful. It's been a work in progress, a collaboration across many different scientists in many different countries. They've launched it. It costs billions to make, and we're gonna be able to see some crazy shit off of this. Some absolutely crazy shit. I'm pretty sure they're trying to point it to the beginning of the universe.
We're paying billions for pictures of the space.
You can learn
Pictures
a lot
of
from
the
it because of the way that light works, where it takes like 7 minutes for the light from the sun to reach our eyes. So if the sun exploded, right now we wouldn't know until 7 minutes later. So we can theoretically see to the very beginning of the universe if you have a powerful enough telescope and you're able to see the light that's being sent from very far away. This is why they're trying to point it. Anyway, it's very cool. I'm not going to nerd out about it any longer because my player of the week goes to a couple of individuals. Didn't catch their names.
Point it at the Big Bang and you would see it in real time.
I don't know if you'd be able to see it, but I think they're basically trying to see how the early atoms were formed as well. They're pointing it to areas where basically like they think oxygen and these big components were essentially formed early on in the universe. Anyway, Bren's player of the week to finalize this off. Josh is literally already almost in bed.
He's just a goblin.
He's gone. He's in the background. He's in the distance. The player of the week this week is going to go to the staff at Heathrow Airport that somehow managed to wrangle and help my family in one of the most stressful circumstances I have been through at the start of December. I flew my family out to me for Christmas, for the holidays, because it's always stressful just going to the UK and having to deal with a bunch of different stuff like moving house and other stuff. I decided I'm going to send them to me instead. It was probably just as stressful, I think, as an alternative, because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to 5 phone calls from my mum. She was panicking. For some reason, the flight wasn't paid for that I had paid for them. The COVID test hadn't come through. The whole family was in disarray. They're running around Heathrow Airport, but the staff at Heathrow Airport, again, didn't catch their names, but they helped out my family tremendously, and they sorted them out with my family are not very good at technology. There's like an app you have to fill in and upload all your details, your negative COVID test and everything so you can travel. They did all that for them. They were very patient with them, and they got them on the flight. Thank God. Bless the staff at Heathrow Airport, especially during these hectic years. And they're going to get my player of the week this week.
Excellent.
Well deserved.
I'm glad they did it. It was fun to listen to Bren's sagas of getting his family here.
Have they gone home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they left. Yeah.
Did they enjoy their time?
They did. Yeah, they enjoyed.
Why are we having a conversation with a ghost?
They did. They enjoyed it a lot. I think them coming to Austin was particularly good for them, because I really cannot think of a more there's a lot of things that you can showcase somebody if they've never been to America, but Austin is quite cool in the sense that it is truly just a huge melting pot of different people moving there, and you get the mix of just, it's a very liberal city, but you go to the outskirts, and I mean, there's just different spectrums of in terms of politics as well that people associate themselves with. They got the full American experience, is all I'm saying. They went to cowboy bars. They went all around. They enjoyed it quite a lot. And yeah, that's gonna do the episode. Josh packed it in a while ago. I think I was mentally checked out a bit ago as well. My mouth was open, just staring at the pre-video.
I like that you used the word gormless in the episode too. Gormless. Yeah. That was a good word.
Gormless is a great word.
That was a good word.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching as well. And thank you for everybody's nominees as well. Connor and Johnny as well. And Johnny on holiday showing up as well for it as well and organizing it as well. And
is Matt on holiday?
There you go.
Matt's always on holiday.
Is Matt on holiday?
No, Matt's not on holiday. It's just we can't have him on a show anymore because every time we build the show, he says, "Oh, I don't know if I can be on this episode, guys. Oh, we might be talking about this, might be talking about that." It's like at this point, listen, mate, we got to ship him off somewhere.
Do you know what we should do? We should get him on next week, and we should just leak what's happening with the entirety of next year,
just to see what his reaction is.
Just watch him have a meltdown live.
That would be really good, actually. I would actually. Fun.
Not only would we burn every bridge that's being built over the years, but well, it would be funny just to see him squirm lower into his camera shot, like the Hobbit perspective shot. Oh, Mr. Oh, Gandalf's here. He's visiting the Shire.
We need to end the episode.
Let's end it. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching.